is that the Senate is about to commence its business. However, much as the prayer has been said and the chair taken, the House has not quorated yet, and currently is a quorum bell underway. At the entrance of the chambers, I can see members of the Senate walking into the chambers. As provided for in the House Standing Order 39 and 40, at least 15 senators shall be inside the chambers. If that quorum is not present, the chair taken for the House to be deemed to have attained its quorum. If no that is present, then that quorum bell will be on, just to alert the members of the Senate, maybe within the precincts of Parliament. Okay, allow me to hand you over. Looks like we have attained or raised that quorum. Allow me to hand you over to these proceedings. Good afternoon.
No, honorable senators, I'm informed we do have quorum now. Clerk, you may proceed to call the first order. Order, Senator for. Now, honorable senators, I take this opportunity to welcome you back from the recess. I hope that you have had time to meet with your constituents, friends, and families over the past week. I also hope that you took some time to rest and rejuvenate your spirits for the resumption of the regular sittings. Now, part 2 of the Senate calendar commences today and will run until the rise of the Senate on Thursday, 17th of April, 2025. Honorable senators, as I indicated in today's order paper and the program of business, the legislative agenda before the Senate is heavy. To dispense with the business in a timely manner, it requires sacrifices to be made on the part of honorable senators, including coming into the plenary early, sitting through, and in some instances late, for progress to be made on the business schedule. Above all, it is imperative that the movers of the business listed in the order paper are in the chamber to prosecute the same. On my part, I will, in consultation with the Senate leadership, implement measures aimed at expediting the processing of business in the Senate. These measures will include the enforcement of time limits on questions and statements, as well as the allocation of time for motions and bills in accordance with the standing orders. Furthermore, the majority and minority party whips are urged to ensure that the requisite number of delegations is achieved whenever there are divisions to be undertaken. Now, honorable senators, as I conclude, I wish to reiterate that my office remains open and accessible to all senators for consultations and support in fulfilling your duties. I wish you a fruitful deliberations in part 2 of the 4th session. I thank you. Next.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
The Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 1st of April 2025. This is the Auditor General Summary Report on the county governments for financial year 2023-2024. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Chair, Labour Committee.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 1st April 2025. Report of Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare and in consideration of National Assembly amendments to the Persons with Disabilities Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 7 of 2023. I beg to lay.
Next, Order Clerk.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Questions and statements. Statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1.
Of the Embu sewerage system by Embu Water and Sanitation Company, EWASCO. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise the person to Standing Order 53-1 to check a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the relocation of Embu Sewerage Treatment Plant ESTP by Embu Water and Sanitation Company, EWASCO. In the statement, the committee should address the following: whether EWASCO has conducted adequate and meaningful public participation in this critical exercise, ensuring that all stakeholders, including local residents, communities, leaders, and relevant authorities, have been duly informed and their view considered. 2, compensation for landowners whose properties are impacted by the project, including the criteria used to determine compensation, the timeline for disbursement, and confirmation that all affected parties have received fair and timely compensation. Steps being taken to resolve any challenges arising from the relocation of the sewerage system, including disputes over land acquisition, environmental concerns, and disruption to local communities. 4, plans by EWASCO to address unforeseen challenges that may arise during the relocation process, along with potential solutions to mitigate negative impact on the community and the environment. 5, total funds allocated for the construction works, breaking down the budget for various phases of the project, providing the expected commencement and completion duties, and ensuring transparency by accountability. Senator Mundigi, Embu County.
Senator Mohammed Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm requesting for a statement on the affordable housing program and infrastructure development. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding the progress of the affordable housing and related infrastructure development. In the statement, the committee should address the following. Number 1, the total number of completed affordable housing units, their total construction cost, the amount already paid to contractors, any pending payments, and the selling cost of the housing units per square meter, highlighting variations based on location and unit type. Number 2, role the Ministry of Public Works and National Construction Authority play in overseeing affordable housing projects, particularly in ensuring compliance and maintaining quality standards. Number 3, number of housing units the National Housing Corporation, NHC, is currently constructing. The numbers handed over, the outstanding payment due to National Housing Corporation, and disclose any loans secured by National Housing Corporation from commercial banks, including their interest rates and the payment terms. Number 4, housing levy collections, detailing the total amount raised to debt, allocation of monies to the various housing projects, the number of fully paid for houses, the handed over to beneficiaries, the number of land titles issued under the Affordable Housing Program, the total land size in acreage that were transferred, and the distribution of title deeds between individual developers and the joint ownerships. Finally, number 5, whether the government invested housing levy collected in treasury bonds, and if so, what are the applicable interest rates and investment durations. Honorable Speaker, my second statement is on verification of development projects in Marsabit County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations regarding the recorded progress of development projects in Marsabit County. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is commendable to see county governments prioritizing developments. Its statistics show that Marsabit County, in particular, stand out as having allocated 38.6% of its budget in the 2023-24 financial year for development, the highest among the counties, and it is necessary to verify whether the recorded progress align with the actual situation on the ground. In the statement, the committee should address the following. Number 1, the key development projects undertaken in Marsabit County, including their scope and current status, while verifying whether they are physically evident on the ground. Number 2, the major project listed in official records, an assessment of the reported progress and the actual impact on residents, and whether the records accurately reflect the reality on the ground. Number 3, the level of community involvement and the oversight in the implementation of these projects, including whether residents have been engaged in monitoring and providing feedback on their effectiveness. Number 4, measures in place to enhance transparency and accountability in reporting progress on development projects and any challenges affecting implementation, and recommend strategies to ensure that documented achievement align with actual outcomes. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Veronica Maina.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the financial crisis at the Technical University of Kenya took and plans to lay off staff and alter employment contracts. Mr. Speaker, sir, the planned staff reductions and restructuring raises serious concerns about the quality of education, staff welfare, and the long-term sustainability of the institutions. In the statement, the committee should address the following. The measures being taken to ensure that staff layoffs do not compromise the quality of education, including strategies to address potential shortages of teaching personnel and safeguard student learning experiences. 2, the financial justifications for the layoffs, including a report on the university's financial health, the specific reasons for the crisis, and the basis of reducing staff to 893 by the 2027-2028 financial year. Further, consider how the projected savings of cash 2.44 billion will contribute to financial stability. 3, the legal basis for altering employment terms, including contracts renewals, the removal of gratuity payments, and the justifications of retaining specific numbers of graduate
Honorable
assistants.
Senators, may Senator Miraj be heard in silence, please.
The legal basis for altering employment terms, including contracts, renewals, the removal of gratuity payments, the justification of retaining specific numbers of graduate assistants and tutorial fellow while replacing contract staff with part-time lecturers. Additionally, query the financial rationale behind these changes and their projected cost of savings. 4, the strategies in place to caution affected staff members, including details of consultations with staff unions and other stakeholders, the processes of selecting employees for termination and any compensation or support mechanisms provided. 5, the government interventions to address the financial challenges facing public university, particularly TUC, and the long-term strategies to ensure sustainable funding for higher education institutions. 6, alternative revenue generating plans the university is exploring to reduce reliance on government funding and avoid future financial crises. For Senator Veronica Maina, MP.
Now, honorable senators, pursuant to Standing Order 45, allow me to rearrange today's order paper. We will now move to handle order number 8. Now, you'll notice that order number 8 is on the county government's additional locations, and it's coming for the committee of the whole. Now, honorable senators, after we are done with the committee of the whole, I urge you not to leave the chamber so that we move straight to the third reading and dispense with this particular bill. We are really behind schedule on this particular bill. If we can be able to conclude the entire process today, we'll have done a lot of justice to the people of this country. And therefore, I will call upon the clerk to move to order number 8. Clerk, call that order, please.
Order number 8, Committee of the Whole, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 1 of 2025. Committee of the Whole.
eager to know the implications.
Honorable members, honorable senators, we are now going to the Committee of the Whole on the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 1 of 2025. We will canvass through each of the clauses and division will be at the end.
Clauses 3 and 4.
I propose the question that clauses 3 and 4 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 3 and 4 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 5.
I propose the question that clause 5 be part of the bill. Chairperson.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that Clause 5 be amended as proposed in the order paper.
I put the question that Clause 5 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 6, 7, and 8.
I propose the question that Clauses 6, 7, and 8 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 6, 7, and 8 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
The first schedule.
I propose the question that the first schedule be part of the bill. Chairperson.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the first schedule be amended as proposed in the bill. And this the amendment to the schedule is to delete allocations on transfer of museums function, increase the allocation on CAIBs from Kenya shilling 2 billion to 2.9 billion. Thank you.
I put the question that I propose the question that the first schedule be amended as proposed. I put the question that the first schedule be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
The second schedule.
I propose the question that the second schedule be part of the bill. Chairperson.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the second schedule be deleted as proposed in the order paper. This is noting that the High Court in Isa Elanyi Chemao and versus National Assembly case number HCP E423/2024 issued a conservatory order freezing funds held by the Kenya Roads Board collected as Roads Maintenance Levy Fund financial year 2024-2025 amounting to 10.522 billion, which was proposed to be allocated in the county government. The allocation may not be utilized due to High Court conservatory order freezing the proposed allocation to the counties in RMLF. Thank you.
I propose the question that the second schedule be deleted. I put the question that the second schedule be deleted. Division at the end.
The third schedule.
I propose the question that the third schedule be part of the bill. I put the question that the third schedule be part of the bill. Division at the end.
The fourth schedule.
I propose the question that the fourth schedule be part of the bill. Chairperson.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the fourth schedule be deleted and replaced with a new schedule as indicated in the order paper. This amendment is meant to allocate counties 42.001 billion instead of 35.658 billion from the proceeds of loans and grants from development partners. This is informed by the increase in various additions across the project supported by funds from development partners.
I propose the question that the fourth schedule be amended as proposed. I put the question that the fourth schedule be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 2, the title, and Clause 1.
I propose the question that Clause 2, the title, and Clause 1 be part of the bill. I put the question that Clause 2, the title, and Clause 1 be part of the bill. Division at the end. Can the bell be rung for 5 minutes so that we go into division? Honorable Senators, Sergeant at Arms, I think the bell can stop ringing. Honorable Senators, we now move into division.
Deletions.
I put the question that the second schedule be deleted. Honorable Senators, you may now withdraw your cards.
Lock the doors.
Sergeant at Arms, please lock the doors and draw the buzz. Honorable members, withdraw the cards and then log back again. Then they may vote.
Sergeant at Arms to take any unattended cards.
Sergeant at Arms, please check any unattended cards and remove them. Members, you may proceed to vote. Senators, please vote. There's some that have not voted. Senator Omtata, please approach the bench. Senator Tangwa, Senator Abbas. Commissioner Korir, Senator Korir, please. Did she vote? Oh, she has.
Clauses with amendments.
I put the question that clause 5, the first schedule, and the fourth schedule be amended as proposed. Members, you may vote now. Do they need to log out? No, you don't need to log out. Just vote. Please vote.
All clauses.
I put the question that clauses 3, 4, 5 as amended, 6, 7, 8, the first schedule as amended, the third schedule, the fourth schedule as amended, clause 2, the title, and clause 1 be part of the bill. You may vote. Honorable members, I'll now announce the results. On deletions, ayes 27 votes, nays 0, abstention 0. The ayes have it. On clauses with amendments, the ayes 27, nays 0, abstention 0. The ayes have it. On all clauses, ayes 27, nays 0, abstentions 0. The ayes have it. Mover.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the Senate the consideration of the county government additional allocation, Senate Bills number 1 of 2025, and its approval thereof with amendments.
I put the question that the committee do report to the Senate its consideration of the county government's additional allocations bill, Senate number 1 of 2025, and its approval thereof with amendments. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
You leave the chair now. You leave the chair.
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker.
Chairperson. Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole has considered the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill, Senate Bill number 1 of 2025, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report.
Honorable Senators, who's your second?
And I request Senator Kalwale to second.
Madam Speaker, very happily, I rise to second, and I want, Madam Speaker, for it to remain clear that the reason why we are struggling this much, this late in the financial year, is because members of the National Assembly, they agreed for controlling more and more millions, is the reason why we were forced to remove the 10.5 billion shillings for road maintenance levy so that life can go on. Members of the National Assembly, please style up. Even if you control the entire budget of Kenya, some of you will win and many of you will lose. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I propose the question that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I put the question that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the county government additional allocation bill, Senate Bill number 1 of 2025, be now read a third time, and I request Senator Edwin Sifuna to second.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
I propose the question that the County Government's Allocations Bill, Senate Bill number 1, 2025, be now read a third time. I put the question that the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2025, be now read a third time. Division. Sergeant at Arms, can you ring the bell for 2 minutes, please? Just. Sergeant at Arms, you may stop ringing the bell. Please draw the bars. Close the doors and draw the bars. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the County Government Additional Allocations Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2025, be now read a third time. You may now vote. Honorable Senators, just give them a few seconds to sort the system. Honorable Senators, you may now vote. Honorable Senators, because of the system error, we will re-vote again. So I'd like to ask members to vote again. Are we okay? Please properly display the question. What's happening? Honorable Senators, I wish to direct that we vote by roll call. So please call the roll and let the voting happen. Thank you. Can we have tellers for the ayes and the nays? Majority side, minority side, please provide tellers for ayes and nays. Senator Mondigi, Senator Shakila, for the minority side. Thank you. Clerk, please call out the roll.
Abbas Sheikh Mohammed, Wajir County. Adan Dulo Fatuma, Isiolo County. Senator.
Senator Abbas, again on record, please.
Senator Abbas Sheikh Mohammed, Wajir
Honorable
County.
Speaker, I vote yes for the bill.
Senator Adan Dulo Fatuma, Isiolo County.
I vote yes.
Senator Boy Isa Juma, Kwale County. Senator Cherarkei Samson, Nandi County.
I vote yes.
I vote yes.
Senator Cherarkei Samson, Nandi County. Senator Cheriot Aaron Kipkirui, Kericho County.
I vote yes, Madam Speaker.
Senator Chesang Alan Kiprotich, Trans Nzoia County.
I vote yes, Madam Speaker.
Senator Chute Mohammed Sahid, Marsabit County.
I vote yes.
Senator Ekomwa James Lomenen, Turkana County.
I vote yes.
Senator Haji Abdul Mohammed, Garissa County. Senator Kajwang Moses Otieno, Homa Bay County.
Homa Bay votes yes.
Senator Kamau Joseph Kiduku, Lamu County.
Madam Speaker, I vote yes.
Senator Kadhuri Murungi, Meru County. Senator Keroche Tabitha Karanja, Nakuru County. Senator Halwale Boni, Kakamega County.
Madam Speaker, I vote yes.
Senator Kisang William Kipkemoy, Elgeyo Marakwet County. Senator Lelegwe Steve Lutumbesi, Samburu County.
I vote yes.
Senator Maanzo Daniel Kitonga, Makueni County.
I vote yes.
Senator Madzayo Stewart Machiru, Kilifi County.
Mstahiki Spika, napiga ndio.
Senator Mandago Jackson Kiplagat, Wasingishu County. Senator Matthew John Muia, Nyandara County. Senator Mogeni Eric Okongo, Nyamira County.
Nyamira votes yes.
Senator Mundigi Alexander Munyi, Embu County.
Madam Speaker, I vote yes.
Senator Mungatana Danson Buya, Tana River County.
Madam Speaker, I vote yes.
Senator Morango James Kamau, Kirinyaga County.
Kirinyaga votes yes.
Senator Mudhama Agnes Kavindu, Machakos County.
Machakos votes yes.
Senator Mwaruma Jones Mwashushe, Taita Taveta County.
Mheshimiwa Speaker, napiga ndio.
Senator Mwenda Gataya Mofaya, Tharaka Nithi County. Senator Munyihaji Mohamed Faki, Mombasa County.
Yes.
Senator Nderitu John Kinywa, Laikipia County. Senator Nyoto Joe, Murang'a County.
Murang'a votes yes.
Senator Oginga Oburu, Siaya County. Senator Ojienda Odhiambo Tom, Kisumu County.
It's a yes.
Senator Okech Eddie Gesheru, Mugori County. Senator Okoit Andrew Omtata, Busia County.
Madam Speaker, I vote yes.
Senator Olekina Ledama, Narok County. Senator Onyonka Richard Momoima, Kisii County. Senator Osotsi Godfrey Atieno, Vihiga County.
Vihiga votes yes.
Senator Recha Julius Murgor, West Pokot County.
West Pokot votes yes.
Senator Roba Ali Ibrahim, Mandera County.
Madam Speaker, I vote yes.
Senator Seki Lenku Olekanar, Kajiado County.
Madam Speaker, I vote yes.
Senator Sifuna Edwin Watenya, Nairobi County.
I vote yes, Madam Speaker.
Senator Thangwa Paul Karungo, Kiambu County.
I vote yes.
Senator Wafula David Wakoli, Bungoma County.
Bungoma yapiga ndio.
Senator Wakili Hilary Kiprotich Sigei, Bomet County.
Bomet votes yes.
Senator Wamatinga Wahome, Nyeri County. Senator Wambua Enoch Iyo, Kitui County.
Madam Speaker, Kitui votes yes.
Honorable Senators, I now will read the results of the division. The ayes 32, nays 0, abstentions 0. The ayes have it. The clerk may now read the bill for the third time.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the additional allocations to county governments for the 2024-2025 financial year the responsibilities of the national and county governments pursuant to such allocations and for connected purposes.
Sergeant at Arms, you may now open the doors. Which one? The next one? Yes. Honorable members, please don't leave. We will need the numbers for the next business. Yeah.
We will reorganize the order paper to do order number 9 and 10 before we come back to it's only for the question to vote. So we can use this to reorganize to do number 9 and 10 so that we can finish those questions.
Sorry. Honorable members, we again will reorganize the order to come to order number 9 and 10 before we resume the order as was laid out. Thank you.
Order number 9, motion. Consideration of the joint report of the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and the Senate Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights on its consideration of the report of the National Dialogue Committee, NADCO, and the report of the Multisectoral Working Group on the realization of the 2/3 gender principle. Question to be put.
Pursuant to Standing Order 84-1, I wish to determine that the matter does not affect counties. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Senate adopts the joint report of the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and the Senate Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights on its consideration of the report of the National Dialogue Committee, NADCO, and the report of the Multisectoral Working Group on the realization of the 2/3 gender principle laid on the table on Thursday, 13th February 2025. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion. Report of the 9th Interparliamentary Union IPU Global Conference of Young Parliamentarians held in Hanoi, Vietnam from 15th to 17th of September 2023. Question to be put.
Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 84-1, I wish to make the determination that the matter does not affect counties. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the Senate notes the report of the 9th Interparliamentary Union Global Conference on Young Parliamentarians held in Hanoi, Vietnam from 15th to 17th September 2023, laid on the table of Senate on Tuesday, 5th March 2024. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next. We now move on to order number 7. Senator Ojenda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to make a statement. I have two statements. The first statement, Madam Speaker, is on the operations and impact of the Kisumu Fish Market Complex. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism regarding the operations and impact of the Kisumu Fish Market Complex. Madam Speaker, the Kisumu Fish Market Complex was established with the objective of enhancing fish trade, providing modern storage and processing facilities, and boosting the economic welfare of fishermen and traders within Kisumu County. However, since its operationalization, several concerns have been raised relating to its management, accessibility, and overall effectiveness in achieving its intended goals. In the statement, Madam Speaker, the committee should, 1, state or address the current operational status of the Kisumu Fish Market Complex, including providing details on the number of traders utilizing it, its capacity, the infrastructure and services available, such as cold storage, processing units, sanitation, and security. Secondly, to provide the total cost of the project, indicating the sources of funding, budgetary allocation for development and maintenance, and the socio-economic benefits accrued, including the jobs created. Third, indicate the management and governance structure of the facility, stating whether it is under the county government, national government, or under public-private partnership, and clarify the revenue sharing model in place. Lastly, Madam Speaker, state the key challenges affecting the complex functionality and the corrective measures undertaken to ensure the facility meets its intended objectives. Madam Speaker, my second statement is on the perennial strikes by digital taxi drivers, Uber and Bolt. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding perennial strikes by digital taxi drivers in Kenya. Madam Speaker, digital taxi drivers have repeatedly gone on strike over exploitative pricing models and high commission rates by digital taxi operators, which do not take into account the rising costs of operations. Madam Speaker, the drivers have protested against their exclusion from fare setting and have called for an increase in the base fare to Kenya shillings 300, which has never been effected. In the statement, Madam Speaker, the committee should address the following. 1, the level of compliance among respective digital drive operators within the 18% cap on the commission to be paid to drivers from total earnings for every trip, including the mechanism in place for monitoring such compliance. Secondly, whether the government could consider prescribing a base fare rate for digital taxi drivers, considering the failure by the digital taxi operators to adjust the rates to reflect the rising operational costs. Third, the role of the digital taxi drivers in fare setting and the extent of their involvement in key policy decisions that affect them. Lastly, plans by the government to reform the existing regulatory framework for the digital taxi sector to enhance fairness and transparency. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I have a communication to make on a visiting delegation from the Eastern and Southern African Management Institute, ESAMI. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a delegation from the Eastern and Southern African Management Institute, ESAMI. The delegation is undertaking a one-day visit to the Senate. I request each member of the delegation to stand when called upon so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. Dr. Peter Kiuluku, who is the Director General. Members, please appreciate him. Mr. Paul Ooga, County Manager. Ms. Laura Wahinya, Marketing Officer. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit to the Senate. Thank you. Senator Omogeni.
Yes, Madam Speaker, maybe before I read my statement, I hope majority can listen. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, we had sought money to upgrade the system. Madam Speaker, we had sought money. I'm making a comment because of the breakdown we have experienced.
Senator Omogeni, before your statement, please welcome the guests.
Okay, Madam Speaker, on my behalf and on behalf of other senators, I take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to visitors from SIMU who are visiting the Senate, and I hope that your interaction will enrich the work that you do, and the Senate appreciates visitors, and we warmly welcome you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. So Madam Speaker, if you permit me, I wanted to make a comment on the system, because that's a matter that touches on our welfare.
Senator Omogeni, I was told you have a statement.
Yes.
That is what I wanted you to read. We will give opportunity for on the other statements later.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.
Order, Senator.
Sorry, Madam Speaker,
Omogeni.
Madam Speaker. I'm reading. What is on my statement reads, Mr. Speaker, sir. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations regarding the leadership and operational crisis currently affecting the County Assembly of Nyamira. Madam Speaker, the County Assembly of Nyamira is split into two rival groups, each conducting parallel sittings in different venues, one at the main County Assembly building and one in other several towns within the county, led by separate individuals, each claiming to be a legitimate speaker and clerk of the County Assembly. Madam Speaker, this state of affairs has caused confusion, has undermined the legislative integrity of the County Assembly, and will potentially jeopardize public confidence in the institution, in devolution, and in the oversight role of the Senate. Madam Speaker, in the statement, I would wish the committee to inquire and address the following. Number one, to inquire into the officially designated and gazetted location of the County Assembly of Nyamira, and whether sittings that have been held outside that location were duly approved by the County Assembly, and table evidence to that effect. Two, inquire into the status and legal standing of any business transacted by the two rival functions, including the adoption and passage of the supplementary budget and other legislative decisions that have been made during this standoff. Three, the committee to inquire the process through which the two speakers and clerks were appointed, and whether due process and relevant standing orders were followed before their installation. Four,
The committee to inquire the steps taken by the relevant constitutional and intergovernmental bodies to resolve the leadership dispute with a view of restoring order in the county assembly. And 5, which is final, the committee to make recommendations on initiating and leading a reconciliation and mediation process to return the assembly to institutional normalcy, safeguard the rule of law, and protect the interests of the residents of Nyamira County. Signed by Senator Okongo Mogeni, Senator of Nyamira. Madam Speaker, if I get a minute to comment.
Senator Mogeni, please sit down. Members, I'll allow a few minutes for members to comment on the statements that have been made. Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, we will give 30 minutes for comments.
So how much per person?
2 minutes per person. 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Okay,
minutes.
I think
6 people to speak.
3 minutes.
From those 6, you'll start fighting.
3 minutes. Order, Senator Mogeni. Let's. Okay, Senator Abbas has the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to contribute to 2 statements, one for Honourable Chute. Madam Speaker, as asked by noted by the member of Marsabit, the senator from Marsabit, there has been a lot of development that has taken place in counties according to the course that we have. But of course, so many of the developments that have been settled in the various by counties cannot be accounted for. Some of them cannot be accounted for. Most of the projects have stalled, and some of the projects, some of the counties like a place like Taita Taveta has 146 stalled projects. Turkana equally has so many projects. Every county has so many projects that are stalled. And these projects are not completed at any one given time. For the last 13 years, some of them are still standstill. And therefore, I think as a chairman of the Committee of Devolution, my committee has decided to visit each and every county to verify the existence of these projects, stalled projects, so that they can be able to know the truth of the matter on the ground. Having said that, I also want to contribute to Omogeni's statement. Honourable Speaker, actually it's a very unfortunate situation. After the impeachment of the incumbent governor failed, there has been parallel speakers in the assemblies of Nyamira. And the county has not been operating, the assembly has not been operating very well. There have been a lot of rivalries. And I don't know even how the governor was even approving his budgets. And therefore, we will also visit very soon the same place to go and see and reconcile the 2 rivalry groups so that at least the county assembly can continue executing their duties. Thank you so much.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to address myself to the statement by Senator Mogeni on the crisis in the county government of Nyamira. Madam Speaker, when the governor of Nyamira appeared before the County Public Accounts Committee, I was present. Madam Speaker, I want to say, without the fear of contradiction, that if there has been any serious threat to devolution, that threat is in Nyamira County. Madam Speaker, I listened in great disbelief the governor admitting on record that there are actually two county assemblies in Nyamira. There are two speakers. There are two clerks. Madam Speaker, to make it even worse, there are two quote-unquote official seals of the county assembly of Nyamira, each clerk carrying their own seal. And there's one senator in Nyamira. Madam Speaker, I want to challenge. In fact, Madam Speaker, I even asked the governor to confirm to us whether there is a second governor in Nyamira. But he confirmed that there is only one. Madam Speaker, I want to challenge the Committee on Devolution. Madam Speaker, it is not enough for the chairman to tell us that he will visit that county soon. Soon is not soon enough, Madam Speaker. In fact, this is one situation where that committee should have moved suo motu on their own motion to go and save devolution in Nyamira. Madam Speaker, I want to ask your office to kindly direct that this committee, this week, goes to Nyamira and comes and reports to this House what exactly is happening in Nyamira. Madam Speaker, we may actually need to call that county government of Nyamira, both the executive and the assembly, to come and tell us what exactly is the problem in Nyamira. Counties have conflicts, but the dysfunction in the county of Nyamira, Madam Speaker, is the greatest threat to devolution in this country. Madam Speaker, I request you to order that something is done, not soon, but immediately, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Senator Cherarki.
Madam Speaker, thank you. One, I want just to comment on two on the issue of digital taxi operators. Madam Speaker, I think we have spoken about this issue, that at least the baseline should be 300 shillings when you are hiring or using digital taxi operator, Madam Speaker, because looking at the operational cost, the cost of fuel is high, the cost of spare parts is also high, Madam Speaker, and you know most of the taxi operators who operate these digital taxi operators online are young people. If now that the public service cannot accommodate everybody, Madam Speaker, please let us ensure and at a house that the compliance and operational costs should be increased so that we protect the digital taxi operators. I think this matter has come up several, Mr. Speaker, and that is why Uber and other digital online should have an office in Kenya. So that when we raise such issues of digital operation of taxi, we give opportunity, Madam Speaker, to many young people who drive this digital taxi. Madam Speaker, and even when you talk about baseline of 300, the fuel per liter is almost the same amount. So if you are paying for that amount, what will you pay for the spare parts, Madam Speaker? Secondly, I want to say I was shocked, Madam Speaker, and I'm disappointed that the devolution committee should have taken this matter. You cannot have two speakers, two messes, two seals, two clerks, Madam Speaker. But I want to think, because I've been following Nyamira politics, is that the governor is a very sharp politician. Because after the failed impeachment, he decided to create chaos in the county assembly. And Madam Speaker, the senior counsel, who is the senator of Nyamira, should have given us, or he assumed that there is judicial notice of what is happening, Madam Speaker. Because anything that has been passed, Madam Speaker, and the senior counsel, the area senator knows, is illegal. Any budget approvals that the governor has been passed in Nyamira County Assembly is illegal. And therefore, the dysfunctionality of Nyamira County Assembly is not by default, it is by design, Madam Speaker, by the county executive, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, the members of County Assembly should know that the more they perpetuate the dysfunctionality of the County Assembly of Nyamira, they are undermining and killing devolution in Nyamira, Madam Speaker. And therefore, the Intergovernmental Relations and the Devolution Committee must come out strongly and address this issue, Madam Speaker, so that we fail. I know MCS have a challenge with the issues of salaries and welfare, the issue of Ward Development Fund. We have given them financial autonomy as the MCS and county assemblies. They should assist us by protecting devolution, Madam Speaker. So I hope, Madam Speaker, going into the future, by today, Madam Speaker, can you direct understanding order number 1, that by Tuesday next week, the Devolution Committee, understanding order 56, must report the progress of what is happening. I support, Madam Speaker.
Senator Faki.
Asante Bispika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia maombi ya taarifa kutoka kwa Seneta Omogeni. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni masikitiko kuwa kaunti ya Nyamira inaongoza kwa safari ya kuregesha ugatuzi nyuma. Mheshimiwa Spika, haiwezekani kuwe na mabunge mawili ya kaunti ya Nyamira. Na kama alivyozungumza Senator Cherigei, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba kamati ya devolution, hata kama ni kuwaita mahasimu wote pamoja na gavana wa kaunti hiyo wiki hii ili waweze kutoa mwongozo au mwangaza kuhusiana na swala hili. Ni aibu Mheshimiwa Spika kwamba kaunti ya Nyamira imeshindwa kutatua masuala kama hayo madogo. Nakumbuka Mheshimiwa Spika, mwaka 2018 tulikuwa na shida katika kaunti ya Mombasa ambapo kulikuwa na watu wanaandamana kila siku kuulitisha bunge la kaunti ya Mombasa wakisema fagia bunge, fagia bunge. Na tulipouliza hapa, baada ya wiki moja gavana aliletwa hapa, spika akaletwa hapa, na matatizo hayo yakamalizwa siku moja, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo sio masuala ya kungojea, Mheshimiwa Spika. Haya ni masuala ambayo yatakana mara moja, kamati husika yavalie njuga na hakikisha kwamba kufikia Jumanne wiki ijayo tumepata mwafaka kuhusiana na swala hilo. Haiwezekani kupotezana kaunti kupoteza wakati kuwa na mabunge wawili, maspika wawili, makarani wawili, bunge moja la kaa msituni, moja la kaa mjini. Ni aibu Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo naomba Mheshimiwa Spika, kamati hii husika ifuatilie swala hilo kwa haraka ili tuweze kupata mwelekeo kuhusu ni nani ambaye anastahili kuendesha mambo ya bunge la kaunti ya Nyamira kwa watu wa Nyamira. Asante Bispika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Senator Khalwale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is only this afternoon that we have given an additional 410,284,520 shillings to Nyamira County. We have passed it this afternoon. This is how serious this House is. And where is this money going? Going to the office of the governor, and in accordance with the provisions of this constitution, he can only spend it after appropriation by the assembly. So the governor must tell us, that's where the buck stops, which county assembly will be responsible for allowing him to spend this money. Madam Speaker, the controller of the budget is responsible for overseeing the implementation of budgets by county governments. She should also appear before the committee and tell the committee the budget she has been implementing has been passed by which county. Madam Speaker, it is this level of impunity that is the reason why governors assumed the title of His Excellency. I remember in the year 2014, I moved a draft bill in this House saying that this position of His Excellency is going to make governors to be drunk of power. You can see the evidence. Madam Speaker, I said in that draft bill that they'll be so drunk of power that that drunkenness will also by osmosis affect their wives. Madam Speaker, as if I was wrong, the governors today call their wives.
What's your point of order, Senator Mandago?
There is no way Senator Boni Khalwale can go with that statement while I'm seated here, Madam Speaker. Understanding Order 105. Can he provide evidence that as a governor who served 10 years, I was drunk with power? There is enough evidence that I was not drunk with power. That's why I'm in this House. So you cannot say governors. Can you name the specific governors who are drunk with power, Senator Boni Khalwale?
Madam Speaker.
Senator Khalwale, Senator Mandago, first, you have not been mentioned by Senator Khalwale. So I think your point of order is misguided. So proceed, Senator Khalwale. You don't have to respond.
Madam Speaker, the Senator of Washington Gishu should just... Sorry. The Senator of Washington Gishu should just declare his interest in this matter as far as my comment is concerned. Because he is not an ignorant man.
Senator
This
Khalwale,
is a
I
scholar.
already declared the point of order irrelevant. So
Thank
proceed with your point.
Thank you. You have saved him. I was going to crush him. I am going. He's a very lucky man this afternoon. But, Madam Speaker, I was saying something very serious. That this drunkenness of power, as I feared in 2014 in my draft bill, has become so infectious that today they call their wives First Lady. Madam Speaker, they even have first daughters. And they have first sons. And they have first mothers. And they have first concubine. And they have... Madam Speaker, the sad ending of this first something is that they are first something with a budget. You know, Madam Speaker, as the chair of JLAC, you sat on my petition when I was insisting that the governor of Kakamega, Fernandes Balasa, should not be allowed to have a budget for his wife. Because of the bureaucracy in legislation and the way business is transacted, the first so-called lady of Kakamega is still enjoying a budget. Theft of public funds. And, Madam Speaker, as if I was being prophetic, probably out of that budget of the office of the First Lady, 2 weeks ago, the governor of Kakamega bought a bulletproof Lexus worth 54.
Give him 30 seconds to finish.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank the chair of the committee. He has already moved and called the governor of Nyamira. They are coming next week. I want to appeal that his appearance should not be just in the committee. It should be the committee of the whole. We want to be there and pin him down. Pin him down, Madam Speaker. I saw him rudely dismiss a distinguished scholar, a senior counsel, when he was before the committee. This kind of jokes. Governors, even when you come this way,
Your time is up, Senator Khalwale. Senator Cheruyot.
Speaker, I want to comment quickly on two issues. One is this issue of Nyamira. It's not possible to have two county assemblies, Senator Omogeni, without the support of two offices. One is the office of the governor, and two, the office of the controller of budget. Those are the two most critical offices in any devolution system, because the controller of budget must appraise this house on which request for funding to our county assemblies. Which of the two functions is she funding, and based on what? And based on that decision, then that is a legitimate county assembly. Number two, I know that the gazetted county assembly was, I think, broken down into and either locked up. Perhaps you may better furnish this house with information, Madam Speaker. Yes, I don't mind being informed, because this is a very important matter, Madam Speaker, that I'd wish to understand. Where do these two different factions sit, and why it's not possible to sit at the gazetted County Assembly of Nyamira?
You may proceed.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I want to inform my neighbor, good senator of Kericho, that the premises, the official premises of the County Assembly of Nyamira have not been broken into. They are functional. The one faction of the assembly sits there. Even last week, after the appearance before the SIPA committee, they sat there. What is happening is a situation where the governor chooses to deal with one function outside the official premises of the County Assembly of Nyamira. But in terms of the status of the building, the infrastructure, everything is intact and in place.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm now properly informed because, you know, the last time I saw, I think there was a serious fight at the County Assembly, and I thought perhaps maybe the official residents. Then, if that is the case, this is a very simple matter. Because why should the County Assembly, the one that is properly moved and sits in the premises of a County Assembly, consider any business from that county government? Why I said it's the controller of budget perhaps who's letting us down, Madam Speaker, is that there are certain statutory obligations that must be met by the County Assembly before, say, requisitions are sent, matters such as budget and things like that. It is proper for her to check which County Assembly has forwarded or has approved, Madam Speaker, some of these budgets that come from that particular county, because at the heart of this dispute, resources are never far away from it. And if you can stop the taps, Madam Speaker, until that matter is resolved, even that other county assembly, how is it resourced, Madam Speaker? Because if people are meeting, it will be interesting to know how the purported clerk of that other housing is able to draw from the exchequer and meet their bills, Madam Speaker, unless the budget is not supporting us. Finally, supporting the proper county assembly. Finally, Madam Speaker, is on this issue of the housing fund that was raised by Senator Chute. It will be important, Madam Speaker, because this fund, we all contribute to it, and sometimes not very easily, because this is a deduction out of our salary. And Kenya has 47 counties. And I know this fund is used to build houses and markets. It will be important that that statement is tabled in this House so that we can all see how much has gone to every county and the justification for the expenditure. Madam Speaker, we cannot portend a situation where certain counties have 20 markets and others have 2 or 3 only. It is important, Madam Speaker, for equity, and the Senate being the House that is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that there is equal distribution of resources in this country. That is an interesting report that you are waiting. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to, Madam Speaker, I wanted to make a comment on the financial crisis at the Technical University of Kenya. Madam Speaker, in the Coast Province, we have very few public universities. But the ones that are there, including the Technical University of Kenya in Mombasa, they have served all the 6 counties of the coast, including people from my own county in Tana River. They come all the way to Mombasa to get their education. It is very sad, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, to hear from this statement that this technical university is reducing staff, is cutting down on its expenditures, and it is basically showing signs of total financial crisis, suggesting that this is one of the few universities in the coast region that may be on the brink of collapse. Madam Speaker, we want, as the committee investigates this matter, the Education Committee of the Senate, to also interrogate the minister. Madam Speaker, public universities have not been equally spread across the counties. We have seen certain counties, Madam Speaker, enjoying a lot of facilities. I mean, you will find several public universities in one particular county or 2, but in certain regions, Madam Speaker, you will find, like in the coast region, very few public universities. The private universities, Madam Speaker, that are there, they are very expensive and people cannot afford them. And people are not able also to pay for those fees and the requirements that are there. And then you find certain regions lacking in terms of the degree qualifications, master's and even PhD qualifications. Madam Speaker, we would request that as the committee investigates this, they look into the possibility of driving the point that resources need to be spread fairly across the counties. That the minister must also look at a possibility of supporting, deliberate support for this particular university so that it does not collapse. They should look at the possibility of making sure that it survives the crisis that is ongoing. So that, Madam Speaker, the
Senator Mazayo.
Asante sana Bispika. Bispika, nataka kuchangia hususan hii iliyoletwa na ndugu yangu Omogeni. Jambo la kwanza ni jambo la kusikitisha sana. Kusikitisha sana kulingana na kaunti hii ya Kisii, ya Nyamira. Kaunti ya Nyamira kuna watu wamesoma. Nyamira kuna watu ambao wanaelewa kunaendelea namna gani. Lakini kwa hivi sasa tunaona aibu tupu ambayo huyu gavana Amos ameweza kuileta ndani ya Nyamira. Haiwezekani kuwa na county assembly mbili ikiwa wewe ni governor peke yake pale. Haiwezekani. Na ni matusi kwa watu wa Nyamira kufanyiwa namna hii. Kitu cha kwanza, juzi anatuambia kwamba hajui sasa ni county gani ambayo, county assembly gani ambayo iko na mamlaka zaidi ya mwingine. Lakini ikifika saa kutambua pale anapeleka pesa, anaweza kuangalia pale mambo ya pesa yanapokwenda. Haangalii sasa ni county gani ambayo, ni county assembly gani ambayo inatikana kulingana na sheria. Haijafanyika hata siku moja katika Kenya yetu kuona ya kwamba katika tokea ugatuzi uanzishwe kwamba katika county moja unapata kwamba kuna county assemblies mbili. Je, wewe kama governor uko na akili kweli? Uko na akili kwamba unaweza kuruhusu county mbili na wewe governor mmoja unaketi hapo mahali? Ndio sababu alipokuwa amekuja hapa na akaulizwa maswali, ilipatikana ya kwamba yeye mwenyewe katika taarifa ya masomo yake yako na shida. Alileta makaratasi gushi ndio akaruhusiwa hata akasimama. Hii tabia ya kuruhusu watu wa kuleta makaratasi gushi alafu wanapitisha hii makaratasi, wengine wanaenda kupigania vyeo, hii ndio imetufanya sasa tumekuwa na magavana ambao sasa wana behave namna hii. Kazi yao hawajui kwa sababu hata kuenda skuli pia ilikuwa shida. Sasa Bispika, sisi tunasema huu uchawi ambao unaendelea ndani ya Nyamira ukome. Huyu aweze kuitwa hapa vile ambavyo tunamuita hapa, aje hapa, asiende kwa kamati, aje hapa aonekane na nyumba nzima yote ya bunge la Senate, ili tuweze kumhoji na kumuuliza vizuri sana. Kama hizo karatasi alienda nazo skuli atatuonyesha hapa, na tuhakikishe kwamba ziko sawa. Zikiwa haziko sawa, zipelekwe katika kituo cha sheria ama kipelekwe katika kitengo kile ambacho kinaweza kuangalia makaratasi. Hatuwezi kuwa na mtu ambaye hawezi.
Dakika moja.
Dakika mbili, Bispika. Bispika, nataka kumaliza.
Proceed.
Kitu ambacho mimi nataka kusema ni kwamba tafadhali gavana afanye heshima na watu wa Nyamira ili aweze kuwekeza ama kuleta mwelekeo vile watu wataendelea na county assembly. Hatuwezi kukubali kuwa na speaker wawili, kuwa na maclerks wawili, kuwa na kila mahali watu wawili. Wanalipwaje hao watu? Na mimi nataka kukubaliana na kiongozi wa walio wengi, ndugu yangu Cheriot, akisema ya kwamba makosa haya yanaletwa na mtu mmoja ambaye ako na interest hapo, ambaye anaweza kutuambia. Kwa hiyo sisi tunasema kwamba huyo mtu pia na yeye huyo control of budget, ikiwa itawezekana, baada ya yeye tumuite aje katika jumba hili la Senate ili tuweze kumhoji. Asante Bispika.
Senator Murgor.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. The situation in Nyamira is such a pathetic one that it beats logic what to call it or name it, because it definitely shows that the system there and that county is probably collapsed. And that is why one man is operating it the way he wants and technically managing the situation such that the assembly has no powers. It is one person that has powers to operate the way he wants. And then, needless to say that it is a system or it is a county that is operating in illegality, because there is no way that two assemblies can operate in one assembly. It is almost like two cooks cooking from one pot, and you can expect that kind of a ugali. It will not be good for human consumption. And then it is also signifies an abuse of office. That governor has really abused that office and also abusing devolution, because that is not what devolution is supposed to be. That's not how it's supposed to operate. And therefore, he is really abusing devolution and abusing power, the power that is given to him. And then also, he should appear before all of us so that we scrutinize and push him to the wall to prove all of these questions that people are asking about his academia and how he arrived at that, and also the controller of budget, because that is probably the source of the powers that the governor is operating on. Thank you.
Senator Beatrice Ogola.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Senate should just be candid enough to call out the governor of Nyamira County so that he should stop his tactic of divide and rule of the County Assembly of Nyamira. Honorable Speaker, we all know that the clerk of a county assembly is the CEO of the legislative arm of a county government. What does this governor want to see that the county assembly, which performs the primary oversight role, do, so that he gets away with a number of things? Honorable Speaker, I call this act that is happening in Nyamira County Assembly an act of criminality. And so, without going into the specific, the Senate should just be candid enough, and as I say, call out the governor of Nyamira to put his house in order, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the county assembly, the clerk runs the funds of the county assembly. Honorable Speaker, that is why, as a Senate, we must fast-track the fact that the county assemblies should have autonomy in running their finances. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I want to comment on the statement regarding the financial crisis at the Technical University of Kenya. Madam Speaker, we remember this institution, that it is an institution that produced one of the best technical skills that run this country. Sometimes some of us even regret the fact that the institution was turned into a university, and partly maybe that is the reason that it has had a lot of problems, especially management problems, financial problems, and so, Madam Speaker, the ministry should pay keen attention on the Technical University of Kenya, because up to now, Madam Speaker, this is an institution that is leading in providing premier skills in technical skills that serve this country. We have a number of polytechnics in our counties, and a number of the lecturers that run these polytechnics, that run these vocational training institutes in our counties were students or were prepared by the Technical University of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, I support this, and thank you for granting me an opportunity.
Honorable Senators, we will defer order number 11, and pursuant to Standing Order 45-2, I would like to reorganize the order so that we move on to order number 19.
Order number 19, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2024, second reading.
Majority?
Madam Speaker, you know I don't want to be accused like the Nyamira County people that I have started a Senate of my own. So I have to wait for you to grant me the floor before I can proceed. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I beg to move that the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill 2024 be now read a second time. Madam Speaker, this is one of the so-called NADCO bills, bills that we got out of a negotiated process after the many events, and I don't need to go back to the history of how we found ourselves before the NADCO panel. And we sat down, Madam Speaker.
Senator Halwale, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I hate to interrupt the leader of the majority. Standing Order number 105. This House knows our leader of majority as somebody with very good command of English. And actually educated, trained, and examined, and qualified in communication, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, could he explain what he means by the so-called NADCO report? Or could he be quietly communicating something to the House so that I can whip the House to help him achieve the desired result?
Majority Leader, first move the bill to be read a second time.
I did actually.
They don't seem to have got it.
Really?
So just move it.
Check
and
the
then,
records.
and
I
then,
actually did.
proceed.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill 2024 be now read a second time. Madam Speaker, this is, and you know, Senator Boni Halwale requested that I clarify what I mean when I said that this is part of the products of the so-called NADCO process. That's what I mentioned. This is a National Dialogue Committee, a motion that this House adopted and set up a committee, Senator Halwale, of members from both sides, actually, of the House. And we sat at Bomas of Kenya, somewhere in Gilgil, and different parts of the country, and eventually it was signed. The report was signed, and we brought the bills into the House. In total, we had 9 bills. To the best of my recollection, I think this is the 4th bill that I moved in this House. There are others that are before the National Assembly, which they are concluding, and they'll soon be sending this side. I think there's one which we have completely finished or done with, the IBC Amendment Bill, which is why the IBC recruitment process is ongoing, and the rest of the processes are here. You know, Madam Speaker, allow me to detour just for a second before I speak on the bill. There are many times that as Parliament we do things at moments of crisis, But then, like the proverbial, I don't know what the English word is, but I know that in Swahili, that animal is called ngiri, Madam Speaker. The warthog, actually. Thank you, Senator Faki, for reminding me. Ngiri, yes, we shouldn't be very quick to forget. Many times after that crisis is done, we revert back to our old ways. We remember the mood in which the country was in just before the formation of the NADCO committee and how we were able to progress. And I'm grateful because there are many laws that are today being processed through the legislative system, including that of the IBC, with a view to rectifying many of the issues that were brought to us by Kenyans. There is even Constitution Amendment Bill. This afternoon, we passed a motion, actually, on the consideration of the two-thirds gender rule principle, which is one of the products, Madam Speaker. It's only that I am still struggling with how the Constitution Amendment Bill will actually fit into the architecture of a bicameral parliament, given the fact that the National Assembly did their report. You guys at Justice and Legal Affairs, you also did your own report, Madam Speaker. It's something that we need to take a decision on as a House. But the point that I'm trying to make is that when we retreat as a House and try to move the country with us, we should never lose sight of the reason why we brought the country together at that time. I am reminded again, Senator Boni Halwale, that after the invasion of Parliament in June last year, we passed a very detailed motion before this House. And I keep on reminding chairpersons of committees that that motion was so detailed that it assigned various rules and responsibilities, Madam Speaker, to our various committees. The Budget and Finance Committee, for example, where you pass, where you serve, Senator Boni Halwale, there's something you guys were supposed to do about debt. I know there is a PFM amendment, for example, on the debt anchor situation. I shared my thoughts with you last week on why, while I may not necessarily disagree with the thought of how to move it, the process through how you achieve it and how you guide the country to avoid a default is something that you need to guide us. And so many other things that you requested of the various committees. The Committee on National Cohesion, Madam Speaker, capturing representation in various institutions. There are institutions that are being mentioned, Madam Speaker. And it's a shame that in this day and age, there are state departments that can actually conduct official meeting in certain local dialects, Madam Speaker. And they still exist. And there are quite a number of names that they keep on popping up here and there. And we receive that information, that the way this particular minister, permanent secretary, director, CEO has constituted certain state organs within the ambit of what is under their jurisdiction calls to question whether they understand the provisions of of Article 10 of our Constitution, Madam Speaker, on national values. And that is work that we gave to our committee on national cohesion. And we still are awaiting their report. And so many other things, Madam Speaker, because I'd hate to imagine that, for example, when we get to June in a few months' time, actually 2 months' time, people will look back and replay the clips of all the things that all of you, fortunately, every single senator, the 67 of us, we spoke to that motion. To just speak and walk away, Madam Speaker, we must, in retrospect, Madam Speaker, ask ourselves whether we lost a moment and whether as a House there is still the possibility of rectifying that particular moment. Because this House of the Senate, Madam Speaker, is, though people may say many things about Parliament, though people may say many things about politicians, at least there is a level of trust that citizens have with this particular House, Madam Speaker, that you don't find in many other houses of Parliament, Madam Speaker. And it's really unfortunate if we continue with the trend of speaking at the spur of the moment and moving away immediately after. I am glad that we are having a conversation about this bill, because even this bill, the very organ of it, Madam Speaker, is how to give life to statutory instruments, instruments that have been produced by this House. The legislature is an equal arm in the theology of the existence of government as prescribed by our Constitution. The executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Many times, Madam Speaker, I see decisions by the legislature being challenged so casually. And I have said times without number in this House that perhaps it has come to a time where we must have a conversation, including with the judiciary and the JSC, Madam Speaker, of What is a threshold within which a judge sitting, even if they have a petition before them, can overturn the decision of an entire house, Madam Speaker, even in the consideration of whatever issues has been brought about them? Because I do not imagine that it was the design of our constitutional architecture, Madam Speaker, for a bill to go through both houses of parliament, go through public participation, assented into law. The following day, stakeholders who, for one reason or the other, may have certain misgivings about that particular bill, Madam Speaker, they move to a court of law, they secure an injunction, and that is the end of the story. I have seen that happen many times. And there are many bills that I can quote off the top of mind, including bills that are matters of public interest. I'll cite an example, the sugar bill, a bill that we tried to pass here last time. The House adjourned. We came back, Madam Speaker, for this 13th Parliament. We quickly moved the bill, and within 1.5 years, that bill had gone through all the systems of Parliament. Today, as we speak, the most critical parts of that Act of Parliament today cannot be implemented, Madam Speaker. Why? Because a single individual, one person, a Kenyan, appeared before one judge, another Kenyan, and all the millions of farmers that depend on sugarcane as a farming cannot enjoy on the proceeds of the work that has been done by the legislature. Madam Speaker, I do not think that that was the design of our Constitution. There must be a threshold, especially on matters of public interest, Madam Speaker, things that affect the livelihood of millions of other Kenyans, because that is the force of law that Parliament has, Madam Speaker. This particular bill speaks to a very simple provision, because many times we pass legislation in this House and we don't effect the timelines within which certain regulations, for example, are supposed to have been gazetted. And that's why we are introducing a new clause 24A, Madam Speaker, into the Statutory Instruments Act, Madam Speaker, so as to make sure that, one, a regulatory making authority shall make statutory instruments within the period provided for under the enabling legislation. Many times we pass bills here, and maybe members don't take time to read to the final part of the bill. In the transition clauses, we normally provide the period upon which certain regulations are supposed to be implemented and passed. Most of those timelines are violated and ignored, Madam Speaker, because there is no sanction. People imagine that Parliament said within 90 days of the passage of this bill, the minister is supposed to gazette these regulations. But we leave it hanging. So people don't care. They say what will happen anyway. And if indeed, even if you took them before a court of law, there would be no sanctions against them, because the law is silent on that particular issue. So the best the judge can do is either to tell that person, please be prudent. In fact, reading this bill, much as it was a negotiated document, I'm not even satisfied with the sanctions that are being now posted on public officers who don't follow the prescription of what the time period within which you're supposed to gazette these regulations. There's a proposal for 500,000. I think that is a slap on the wrist of somebody who's ignoring the gathering of the people of Kenya. You know, the unfortunate bit, Madam Speaker, is because people look at Parliament as a gathering of 410 individuals. What they don't appreciate is that extracting from the provisions of our Constitution, Parliament is a gathering of all the 50 million of Kenyans through their representatives, elected directly, Madam Speaker. And when they speak, because it's not possible for the entire country to agree on any simple question as a wholesome, because we are constitutional democracy, Madam Speaker, we have passed it in our laws and set the threshold within which, once which a particular threshold is passed, then it is considered that that is the common position of every Kenyan that lives under the jurisdiction and the maps of our country, Madam Speaker. For example, in Senate, it is passed that once 24 delegations have agreed on a particular bill, that bill is considered, Madam Speaker, or that instrument that is before us is considered to have been passed by everybody, including those who, for one reason or the other, may not have voted in support of that particular bill. That is how democracy works. Our counterpart house passes their legislation through a simple majority, Madam Speaker, that once gathered as a House of Parliament, when a motion is before them, when a bill is before them, once more than half of the people gathered in that particular house have passed whatever legislation it is considered to be the bounding law in that particular country, in the country, Madam Speaker. And it is my wish and hope that we can actually enforce and give strength to the Houses of Parliament. You know, because of how we are caricatured in, Madam Speaker, how people speak all manner of things against politicians, as if we are aliens, as if we are not picked from the ordinary stock and pile of the average Kenyan, Madam Speaker. You know, the people you find in this house, Madam Speaker, whether you like them or you don't, they are the cumulative total of the ordinary Kenyans. Anything that you see that you don't like in the members of parliament in this house, that is exactly what you will find in any other gathering, so long as you put together Kenyans, Madam Speaker. And therefore, the institution of parliament needs to be respected. Their decisions, Madam Speaker, it must take a certain level of caution before they are varied by any person, whether an officer in the executive, Madam Speaker, that's why we are sanctioning those that are not passing regulations, or even those that sits in our benches or in the courts of law, Madam Speaker. Part 2 of it is to provide where enabling legislation does not provide the timelines within which a statutory instrument is to be made. The regulatory making authority will make the statutory instrument within 12 months from the date of commencement of enabling legislation. That if, for whatever reason, Madam Speaker, it happens that we have passed a legislation and we didn't specify the time period within which those regulations are supposed to have been made, the end period within which an officer who is supposed to pass to make those regulations, the time that they have, including taking them through the motions of parliament, Madam Speaker, is 12 months. And that is now provided for in law. As it was, I have explained previously, Madam Speaker, there was nothing provided. Number 3, if that regulatory making authority fails to make the statutory instrument within the specified time, any person may petition Parliament and, where possible, together with a draft of the statutory instrument for consideration. That's how bold we've become. That we are telling the executive, by the way, it's not a must that you do it. If you don't bring the regulations within the time period within which you are supposed to bring those regulations before the Houses of Parliament, any Kenyan that is interested in that particular sector can draft regulations and bring to this House. And we will pass it, Madam Speaker, especially where there is unjustified delay from the side of the executive. And there are Kenyans that are interested in that particular sector and they feel that we are holding them back because of the issue of regulations. We need to pass such regulations. 4, Madam Speaker, if a person without reasonable cause fails to make statutory instruments within the timelines, they commit an offense. I think I've spoken about this, Madam Speaker. Despite the fact that at the NADCO panel, we agreed on a fine of 500,000, I'd wish to urge the House that probably you can suggest a more resounding fine that will make people think twice before they ignore sanctions of Parliament. 500,000, though, is what is provided for. Last, Madam Speaker, is a person is liable for an offence under subsection 4 shall be liable for fine, and public funds shall not be used to pay such a fine, because many times, Madam Speaker, when we sanction public officers, they revert back to public coffers to pay those fines. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I beg to move and request the minority leader who we have co-sponsored with this particular bill, Madam Speaker, to second. I thank you.
Senator Mazaya.
Asante Bispika kwa kunipa nafasi hii. Bispika, cha kwanza nataka kuunga mkono yote ambayo ndugu yangu ameweza kuyasema hapa mbele, kiongozi wa walio wengi, kuhusikana na hii bili ya sheria endeleza. Hii sheria ambayo inaweza kuendeleza ama sheria endelezi ni sheria ambayo inaweza kutupatia nafasi ya kufungua chapter nyingine ili iweze kutusaidia wakati wote ambao janga likiwa limetokea. Speaker, ni kweli hii ni bili mojawapo ambao sio bili za kawaida, lakini inaweza kutupa sisi mamlaka Spika, Waswahili ama wahenga husema fimbo iliyo mkononi ndio fimbo inaua nyoka, ama ndio fimbo inayokusaidia wakati uko na shida fulani. Sisi tulikuwa katika shida kubwa, na ilikuwa ni lazima tuepukane na ile shida. Kwa hiyo ni lazima tutengeze sheria ambayo ilikuwa inaweza kutusaidia tutoke katika lile janga. Na ndio sababu tunasema ya kwamba fimbo iliyo mkononi ndio fimbo ambayo inaweza kukusaidia kuua nyoka. Isije kageuka ikawa lile gogo ambalo linakuvukisha, alafu ukasema badala ya kusema ni dau, wewe ukaliita gogo. Ndio sababu katika hiyo misemo hii ikawa mojawapo katika zile tunaita NADCO. Ni uhusiano wa watu walikuja na wakatengeza sheria hiyo. Spika, kwa kauli yote, wakati tukiwa katika shida ama janga lolote la kisiasa likitokea, huwa ni lazima watu wakae na kuwe na suluhisho, na hii ndio sheria mojawapo. Spika, mimi nikiendelea kuunga mkono ni kwamba hii bili ya sheria endelezi ni kwa sababu inaweza kupatia uhai jopo ama sheria fulani kutengenezwa ili iweze kupatia nafasi sheria itengenezwe ambayo inaweza kutumika kwa wakati wa hafla. Spika, majukumu kama hayo ni muhimu sana, na watu watakaopatikana katika hiyo hali, ikiwa wanaweza kutafakari na kuweza kuleta hayo majukumu kabla hilo janga halijatokea, tunasema kwamba hiyo itakuwa njia nzuri. Na hili sheria endelezi kama hii ambayo imekuja mbele yetu inafaa, ni sababu kwa sababu imesema ya kwamba kama ikiwa itakuwa inaweza kutekelezeka, basi kutakuwa na adhabu kama mtu atakuwa hakufanya hivyo. Inatuambia kwamba kutakuwa na mtu anaweza kupelekwa kotini na akachukuliwa hatua ya kulipa fine ya zaidi ya 500,000. Spika, kwa kumalizia ni kwamba sheria hii ina umuhimu na ni nzuri, na tunaona ya kwamba itaweza kutusaidia wakati wowote. Kwa hiyo mimi naiunga mkono sheria hii ya bill ya sheria endeleza ama endelezi kwa sababu nilizozitafakari hapo awali. Asante Spika, naunga mkono.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2024, be now read a second time. Senator Cherarki.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity, and to thank the leadership. I think this is among the 9 bills under NADCO report. And Madam Speaker, I would have expected that we should have dispensed off this bill so that we can allow members to also prosecute other bills. And Madam Speaker, it's good to see you. The last time I saw you, we were condoling with the Dagoretti North Member of Parliament, Beatrice Alachi. And it is good that all of us are members of Parliament. We stand with each other, especially when we have challenges. Madam Speaker, secondly, the NADCO process was a bipartisan process. And I think the committee that was formed by both Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga and President William Ruto has borne the fruits. And one of the achievements that we have made so far, Madam Speaker, is we have now broad-based engagement and broad-based government where we are working through by partnership, Madam Speaker. And one of the bills, the beneficiary is Senate as stood as the House of Union. Madam Speaker, I'm waiting with excitement. I'm waiting with excitement the constitutional amendment bill, Madam Speaker. And I know you as a member of Speaker's panel, a member, I saw, Madam Speaker, you need to clear in future, because I've seen you being introduced twice. Sometimes you come from Busia, sometimes you come from Kisumu. You will clear some of us so that in future we know where to refer you to. And you are a member of Justice, Legal Affairs, and Human Rights. I would really want to see, because, Madam Speaker, how Kenya is, even as these bills of NADCO are being processed, we must broaden and widen the executive. The fact that the current constitution of executive, we only have the president and the deputy president, will not accommodate our divergent nature of Kenya, Madam Speaker. Even the reason we have heightened campaigns, jostling and pushing for executive power, Madam Speaker, is because, one, winner takes it all. Number two is because there are only two positions, Madam Speaker, and I hope in the NADCO report where, among the bills that we are discussing today, Madam Speaker, we must have an expanded executive where we have the president, Madam Speaker, we have the deputy president, we have executive prime minister, Madam Speaker, and we have two deputy prime ministers, Madam Speaker, and we have leadership that is clear, Madam Speaker. And I don't see the need, Madam Speaker. Why should we appoint a member of parliament, they resign, we go for by-election, the country incurs expenses? Let us allow members of parliament to be appointed to the cabinet. We give them sitting allowances in the cabinet and save salaries, Madam Speaker, so that we can have a country. And therefore, I hope in the 9 bills that we are intending to bring, and one of them being in the Constitution Amendment Bill, this one being Statutory Amendment Bill, and I'm happy the youth leader, Senator Oburu Odinga, looks excited, especially when I mentioned the issue of expanded executive, because we want his brother to continue serving as the Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya going into the future, and they are doing good work with the President, Raila Amolo Odinga. Madam Speaker, secondly, was on the issue of Section 11, the amendment on the Statutory Amendment 2024. When you read the parent act, Madam Speaker, that is Statutory Amendment Act of 2013, it's very clear. Madam Speaker, the delegated committee, I think in the last session, I don't know, Madam Speaker, whether Senator Faki is lucky or he is always lucky. Because in the last session, when the reorganization of committees in 2020, he became the chair of delegated committee. And I think he did a very good work, and I would have expected him to go back. But I think he decided to deal with issues of land in coastal region and the entire country. And I remember at that time, we used to argue on the timeline of delegated. And as they tried as a committee, you find, because under section, I think the closed section 2 of the statutory amendment in the Statutory Instruments Act of 2013, the definition of regulatory making authority, Madam Speaker, has been given an obligation to do their job. But I remember during tenure of Senator Faki as the chair of a delegated committee, some of the regulatory making authority were delaying in doing their job. And in fact, we had to argue on operationalization because, Madam Speaker, after we have passed a bill, the parent ministry is given authority to do regulations. But you find they stole the operationalization of that act of parliament because they do what, Madam Speaker? They are not very keen in bringing, and I'm happy, it has been made now mandatory that within 12 months, Madam Speaker, they must give us, Madam Speaker, timeline for regulation. And therefore, Madam Speaker, we must be very keen because you find a law is passed, the Ministry of ICT, in fact, I remember, Madam Speaker, one of the laws, and Senior Senator, Minority Leader, Senator Manzayo, you remember the one on the data protection. It took so long to bring allegations to Parliament. You remember the Information Act of 2016. It took so long to have regulations being brought into the House, Madam Speaker, because somebody somewhere in the ministry was sleeping. And I'm happy they have been given within 12 months. They must ensure those regulations so that they don't stall our work. Madam Speaker, I would say there, Parliament and Senate and National appear that they don't do their work. Because after we pass the act, somebody goes to court, the regulations are not published. Then when you try and explain to people that the regulatory making authority has not brought us the regulations, Madam Speaker, they imagine we are abdicating or relicting our duty, Madam Speaker. And therefore I agree, the punishable should be around 2 million, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry. 2 million Kenya shillings, 500,000 is chicken change, Madam Speaker. So we must at least 2 million minimum because you are punishing a minister. Let's assume the regulatory making authority should be the ministry. If you are now, Madam Speaker, punishing or fining only a minister, Madam Speaker, 500,000 shillings, you can imagine they will just laugh at you. The way we were trying through Senator Outsource's bill, where we are saying when somebody fails to appear before the committee, before committee of parliament, we just fine them 500,000. And you find governors were smiling all the way to the committees. In fact, I remember the former governor Kitui, because Madam Speaker have been veteran in Public Accounts Committee, when we find former governor Charity Ngilu 500,000 shillings, she just told us, where can I pay? Can I pay via M-Pesa? Can I pay in cash? Until we guided her that you must deposit and pay through the clerk of the Senate. So we must increase so that we make it painful and punishable going into the future, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the use of technology, that is amendment of section 19 and 18, is to publish both on revocation. Because, Madam Speaker, whenever you want to explain something with this digital era, Madam Speaker, we must go online. The website is important. I know Senator Utsosi have always have a problem with people who learn technology issues, even in ICT. Madam Speaker, we have always have a challenge. Let revocation by the concerned clerk, if it is Clerk Nyekenya Jeremiah, or the clerk of National Assembly, they should publish on the website through the Kenya Gazette, so that any Kenyan, you know, Madam Speaker, I am the chairperson of Open Governance, co-convener in Parliament, Open Governance Program, OGP. One of our tenets of OGP, Open Governance, is transparency and accountability. The only way Parliament will be accountable, colleague leaders, is, Madam Speaker, is by publishing what we do, so that it becomes easy to ensure accountable. Madam Speaker, sorry, I had not seen Senator Metu. I thought he was with the president in the tour of Murima. Madam Speaker, and therefore, we must use and ensure that there is revocation and publishing of regulations, Madam Speaker. When you look at section 23, that I agree, because, Madam Speaker, we want to prevent busybodies. Now they says regulations might be considered through the standing orders of the Senate or National Assembly, and as per the act, the parent act of that regulations must be considered. When you look at, Madam Speaker, just to take you back, section 5A, Madam Speaker, of the Statutory Instruments Act of 2013, it talks about explanatory memo. One of the conditions of explanatory memo before you bring before the Senate, before Parliament, Madam Speaker, is that there must be adequate public participation. Colleague leaders and senators, Madam Speaker, most of our bills that we have passed in the floor of the House, and I remember Senator Danson Mungatana was mentioning Okiya Omutata, has only fell at the stroke of the pen by judges of court, Madam Speaker, because of only one simple thing, lack of public participation. In the explanatory memo under Section 5A of the Statutory Instruments Act of 2013, one of the grounds, Madam Speaker, is public participation. They must show how consultation was done, and therefore, so that we bulletproof. Is it bulletproof, or we ensure that, Madam Speaker, that we cannot open it up for challenge? Madam Speaker, we are not saying courts should not interpret the law or should not question the process of Parliament. And I remember, Madam Speaker, in Speaker Mate's case, Madam Speaker, you remember on the issue where a court said we cannot challenge a process, especially on impeachment, that we only challenge at the tail end. We are not saying courts should not challenge. But we are worried when courts want to overreach their mandate. They want to do legislation, Madam Speaker. They want to do lawmaking, Madam Speaker. You have seen, Madam Speaker, and that is why sometimes some of us ask, what are courts? What is the role of courts? Are they court keepers of particular, Madam Speaker, of particular individuals? Because sometimes Senator Minority Leader, Senator Stewart Madzai of Kilifi, why is it that CBC courts have dealt an injunction? Madam Speaker, university funding model, they have dealt an injunction. Mr. Speaker, I noticed the change on the chair. Why is it that all matters that are pro-government, courts are quick to issue injunctions, and we are Kenyans? Courts do not exist in isolation. We must question them. We are funding them. We gave them 20 billion through appropriation the other day, Mr. Speaker, sorry. We gave through appropriation. Why is it that when we ask courts of law for accountability and transparency, why is it that anything that is government programs, the courts are quick to issue injunctions, for example? They should just come up, Chief Justice, which I have tremendous respect for, Chief Justice Martha Koome should just come and tell us the reason we are issuing injunctions, temporary injunctions against government programs, is because of X, Y, Z. And that is why, colleagues, this is one way of preventing a lot of litigations and litigious courts process, Madam Speaker. And that is the interest of us. We are lawmaking. You remember today, Mr. Speaker, we just passed the conditional allocations, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I'm happy Nandi today in the afternoon, under conditional grants and loans, Nandi is getting 486 million Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. That is tremendous. But the sad reality is that this money will never give value. I know my neighbor, Senator Otsosi, knows there is nothing going on in Nandi County except that it has become the headquarters of corruption, where the governor, Mr. Speaker, is using 48.2 million to hire vehicles that you wonder why, as a government, buy vehicles, then do car hire services. It doesn't make sense, Mr. Speaker. This is how we are destroying devolution. And we sat through here, Mr. Speaker, to deliberate and protect and ensure that our counties get their resources that is enough, Mr. Speaker. And when such things that, Mr. Speaker, because this is a NADCO, one of the NADCO bills, I hope, and I wish I have not seen Senator Okongo Mgeni, but Senate Minority Leader is here, and I can't see other people who sat in NADCO. Maybe Senator Beatrice has some info. One of the bills, Senate Minority Leader, and of course the Deputy ODM Leader here, one of the bills is we should be discussing and ensuring that we pass the laws of fight against corruption. It cannot be. Today we sat, Nandi has got 486 million today. But when you go to the ground, the only thing my governor is doing is demolitions only in Kapsabet Town. Throwing women. And I know you pass, I know Senator Uburu knows Kapsabet. The market you used to talk to me, it has been demolished by the governor. In fact, Senator Orwoba should be the biggest person who should be raising our voice against women being thrown on the streets in Kapsabet Town or in Namgoi. I want to listen to the voice of Senator Orwoba on this issue because this is femicide. What is femicide? When you go and destroy where women are selling their wares in Kapsabet Town, in Namgoi Town, and you throw them on the streets, they cannot feed their... What is femicide? It is femicide that Governor Sang is doing. Because why throw the women on the streets? Mr. Speaker, it is sad reality that we must fight. I want to call upon the House leadership, the way we are passing the issue of NADCO, the way we are working hard to pass the bill on NADCO. I want to see the House leadership, under the guidance of President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, on how to deal with corruption in counties. It cannot be that we appropriate money. Mr. Speaker, you saw on Sunday, Taifa Leo, it was talking about counties where money is being lost through payroll. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the biggest counties that featured was Nandi County, where payroll is being used. Mr. Speaker, sir, you find governor has cost workers, almost 300. There are people who carry seats. There are people who carry microphones. There are people who carry mobile toilets. There are people who carry carpet. There are people who carry Bible. There are people who carry pens. There are people who carry concubines. Mr. Speaker, it cannot be that we work very hard to create demigods and gods in our counties. I want to challenge the minority leader who is holding forth on behalf of the NADCO issues. Please bring something on corruption in counties. We cannot be working hard. Go to the village during the weekend in Kilifi, somewhere in Magarini, where money has been devolved. But those people, poverty is walking around like a human being. It cannot be in Garissa. Mr. Speaker, sir, less than 1 kilometer, water is passing through the town, but people cannot access clean and safe water. It cannot be, Mr. Speaker, that here in Nairobi, everywhere you walk is either you have pools that are more deeper than dimples, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, with those many issues that I've raised, I support, let us fast-track these NADCO bills. We are in support, Mr. Speaker. We are totally and absolutely with military precision on this NADCO. We are certainly behind President William Ruto and Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Mr. Speaker, into moving into a broad base and ensuring that we move this country forward. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks and with the smile of my minority leader, I beg to support.
Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this very important opportunity to also make my contribution to this very important bill, the Statutory Instrument Amendment Bill. Mr. Speaker, I think this bill is very, very timely and long overdue, because what this bill is seeking to do is that it will define in law that those who make regulations, when an act of parliament is passed, they have up to 12 months to enact regulations. Mr. Speaker, statutory instruments are very important. These are basically the regulations which ministries come up with, or which the executive or even judiciary come up with to try and implement the provisions of the Act of Parliaments that we pass. Mr. Speaker, we know that we cannot put everything in an Act of Parliament. That is why, as a standard, we always create room for making regulations, so that the respective ministries of government departments will be able to come up with specific regulations to manage various issues. We have seen problems in the past where we pass laws and several years down the line, we do not see any regulations having been formulated or enacted to implement various provisions of that law. Mr. Speaker, that has made a number of laws unimplementable because of lack of regulations. This law, this proposed law, Mr. Speaker, will make it mandatory that we must have regulations within 12 months or after passage of an Act of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I think in this country, these statutory instruments have been misused, Mr. Speaker. They have been misused because some of these statutory instruments have been formulated without following the law. We have seen either in writing or in actions, some laws have been developed without the input of Parliament, which is against Article 95(5) of the Constitution, which says no person or body other than Parliament has the power to make provision having the force of law in Kenya, except under authority conferred by the Constitution or legislation. We have seen ministries make regulations which are not provided for in law. And therefore, even as we talk about putting a timeline under which this department or ministries will be able to come up with regulation, we also have to ask ourselves, what are the regulations outside there which are contravening the law, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, for example, if I may give an example, right now, Mr. Speaker, you go to every private parking area. They are charging parking fees, Mr. Speaker, without following any law. You go to a supermarket, you stay there for 5 minutes. When you come out, they charge you money. Where is this money going to? Where is the law that requires that private people charge or tax people through parking fees? This is an issue that Parliament must look at. And many, many other things which are happening outside there, which are not documented in regulations, and people are profiting from these things without following the law. Mr. Speaker, we also have to appreciate the need for having regulations. As stated, is because we cannot have everything in an Act of Parliament. We have to create space for the implementers of the Act of Parliament to also implement those Acts of Parliament by coming up with the regulation. But, Mr. Speaker, we have to express our discomfort that many of the laws that we pass are not implemented because the regulations are not formulated and enacted. Mr. Speaker, I know my colleagues here have talked about various pieces of legislation which are not supported by regulation. For example, Mr. Speaker, for a long time, the Sugar Act, before it was repealed initially, we had a lot of issues in the sugar industry, issues that could be resolved through regulations. But every time you ask why this issue has not been addressed, you are told that the Ministry of Agriculture has not come up with the regulations. And farmers suffered for a long time. We have other cases, other legislation that we have passed in this House, which are not supported by the relevant regulation. For example, Mr. Speaker, the Computer Misuse and Cyber Crime Act. We passed this law. I know some parts of it was taken, opposed in court, but large sections of this law have not been implemented because there are no regulations. For example, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of regulations around the matter of critical systems, we do not have regulations around it. And therefore, people continue to profit from crimes around cybercrime because there are no regulations to support it. Mr. Speaker, even Data Protection Act, we still have so many aspects of the Data Protection Act which is not implemented because the regulations are not there. Mr. Speaker, even as we talk about regulations, let's also talk about how long can these regulations be in place. We know that the Statutory Instrument Act provides for a period of 10 years. After 10 years, must come back to Parliament and seek extension of that period. And this one is important because laws change, environment change, and when the laws change, the regulations should also change, Mr. Speaker. Like we have regulations which were enacted before the Constitution of 2010. Those regulations need to be repealed so that they align to the new Constitution of 2010. So the 10-year period of expiry, it is important. And recently, Mr. Speaker, we had about 1,700 pieces of regulations which had expired and which Parliament passed to extend their period for another 10 years. So this expiry period in the regulation must be monitored continuously so that we don't have a situation like what we had in 2013 where this huge number of regulations expired and they affected so many operations in government. Mr. Speaker, the making of regulation should be done in a proper manner, processed in this House as per Article 94(6) of the Constitution, which requires that there must be a clear objective of having those regulations, there must be a clear scope, and there must be a clear limit of authority of those regulations, and also the alternatives must also be specified, and the effect must also be indicated. Mr. Speaker, you find that most of the regulations do not abide by the standards which have been set up in Article 94(6) of the Constitution. And I want to encourage the relevant committee of delegated legislation that such regulation should not see the light of the day, should be annulled because they are unconstitutional, and they may lead to some form of punishment to the people without approval of Parliament as per Article 94 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, it is also important to know that even gazette notices that are issued by various government institutions, including the executive order, they are supposed to be subjected to parliamentary scrutiny. They are supposed to be processed by delegated legislation. I don't know how many executive orders have come to this House to be processed. I don't think any has come. Mr. Speaker, it is important that the authority to make the law remains the preserve of Parliament. If we allow ministers or even the President to make regulation through gazette notices or through executive orders, we will be taking away the powers of Parliament to make law as per Article 94 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, even as we talk about this, the regulations must be processed through public participation. We have seen cases where regulations are gazetted without any input from the public. Mr. Speaker, this is unconstitutional. And sometimes, maybe when the committee is not able to do it in time, you find that these regulations are implemented, and yet they have not met the minimum standards, including public participation process, including compliance to Article 94(6) of the Constitution. I think the committee should be alert so that such regulations do not see the light of the day, because Kenyans need to be protected from some excesses, because some of these regulations may impose a huge cost on Kenyans, so that we are able to deal with them beforehand. Talking about counties, Mr. Speaker, because this Statutory Instrument Act also affects counties, we have realized that counties have come up with the regulation pursuant to a national legislation. They have developed a regulation pursuant to national legislation. Mr. Speaker, these regulations are unconstitutional. One example is the PFM. PFM Act clearly stipulates that the regulations will be made by the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury and not a CEC for Finance. So you find the counties have developed regulation, especially to manage funds, public funds in the county, pursuant to PFM regulations. In my committee, Mr. Speaker, we have directed that these regulations be annulled or repealed because they are unconstitutional. The regulations made in county should be made pursuant to the county legislation and not national legislation. I think every committee must be on the lookout for this problem so that counties are directed to make regulations pursuant to the county legislation and not national legislation. Mr. Speaker, I want to end by saying that these amendment is timely. This amendment will be able to speed up the implementation of the various acts of parliament that we pass in this house, and the penalty, in fact, Mr. Speaker, should be enhanced. I think every time we put a penalty, a fine, we should also always put there also an option for a jail term, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying this because we have a lot of violation of the law. Even as I'm speaking to you now, Mr. Speaker, in our counties, we have a big problem because there is clear violation of the law around accountability, Mr. Speaker. And the people want to come to the Senate and behave as if they do not understand the law. Mr. Speaker, for example, the issue of the audit process, which requires that counties provide information and documents to the auditor within the audit process. But most counties do not do that. The Auditor General generates queries, issues the audit certificate for the report, but when they appear before our committees, that is when all of a sudden you see them coming with bundles and files of documents before us. The law is very clear, Mr. Speaker, under the Public Audit Act, that failure to provide information during the audit can result into 3 penalties. 1, imprisonment for 3 years. 2, a fine of 5 million, or both. I think it's important that we start exercising and implementing these provisions in law to deter people who don't take the audit process very seriously or who deliberately deny documents to the auditor and then they resurface with sometimes fake documents which they present before us to say it is evidence on a particular audit matter. Mr. Speaker, I want to support this bill and encourage other members of this House to support this bill as well. I support.
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also make my comments. I first of all want to say that I support this bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in 2013, through the Statutory Instruments Act number 23 of 2013, the Honorable Amina Abdallah, then nominated member of Parliament, brought this law before the House. And Mr. Speaker, why was Parliament doing that? It was doing that because up to then, the government of Kenya used to depend on the 1946 British Statutory Instrument Act that used to be the standard for how we will implement our delegated legislation. Mr. Speaker, and Kenyans listening to me, the law under the Constitution makes only parliaments or the assemblies of the people, in this case the Senate and the National Assembly, and at the county level, the county assemblies, as the only bodies that are given power to make law. But Mr. Speaker, it is not possible to make law on all the details. That is why we, as the Senate, the National Assembly, and the county assemblies, delegate these responsibilities to ministers so that ministers are able to sit with their technical committees and be able to say that they need these regulations so that they can make the law functional. For example, we may pass a law here that says overspeeding is an offense under the Traffic Act. But then it will need the minister
relevant minister to sit with the NTSA to say between which areas and which areas is it safe to say 50 kilometers per hour is a speed limit, between which areas and which areas is it 120 kilometers safe to drive. So, Mr. Speaker, those kinds of details are not available before the House or the houses of making law. And that is why we take this power and delegate to regulation-making authorities like ministers and other authorities. But, Mr. Speaker, we have had serious abuse of this delegated power. Many legislations we have passed here, we have said in the end that this law will come to effect when the minister signs this and that, or when the minister brings the enabling regulations and these regulations are passed. Then, Mr. Speaker, you find a very serious piece of legislation is not made actionable because the minister goes and forgets about that law. Mr. Speaker, the President has assented, then the Senate has originated the law, or vice versa, National Assembly, and then it has passed through the processes, and then it has gone to the last process where the President has assented and it has become law. And then a minister who is in charge of that department sees that law, refuses to put those regulations, and the law becomes non-functional. Mr. Speaker, many people, many colleagues here have raised that particular issue. When we were growing up under the old constitution, Mr. Speaker, there were fundamental rights and freedoms for under the constitution, even the old constitution. And in those fundamental rights, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya was required to write regulations on how to approach the courts, the High Court, so that you can enforce your fundamental rights. But, Mr. Speaker, Chief Justice after Chief Justice after Chief Justice refused to write any regulations, Mr. Speaker. It's only after we got the new constitution and under the Chief Justice, Willie Mutunga, that regulations for enforcement of fundamental rights was then done. So, Mr. Speaker, you can see many Kenyans under the old constitutions, their fundamental rights have been guaranteed under the constitution. But you have a situation where your fundamental rights have been guaranteed, but you do not know how to approach the High Court to enforce those regulations. Why? Because the Chief Justice then had not actually gazetted the regulations under the old constitution. And this is repeated with ministers. But, Mr. Speaker, the worst case scenario is that you will find that it is the same ministers, Mr. Speaker, who, when they do not want a law to function, and the law has made it clear that there must be regulations from the minister, then, Mr. Speaker, they don't make it effective. Mr. Speaker, what this amendment is doing to this law, what this amendment is doing to this Statutory Instruments Act, what this bill is doing, we are taking back that power. We are saying you are supposed to do it within this period of time. And if it is not provided, you're supposed to do it within 12 months. And if it is not done, any person who is affected by that law can come and table regulations. So that power that used to be there with ministers or regulations making authorities, any regulation making authorities, is now taken away. And we are saying through this NADCO bill, Kenyans are saying that when they are parliamentarians, when they are senators, when they are National Assembly members, when they are county assembly members pass laws, they expect the CECs, they expect the CSS to actually make those laws functional. Mr. Speaker, I fully support what this law is intended to achieve. And Mr. Speaker, maybe I should take this opportunity to tell those regulations making authorities, the RMS, that when you are making these regulations, again, we don't give you absolute power, because the power that the people of Kenya have given us is to make laws on their behalf. And you see the process which goes here. We have to advertise, we have to take the views of Kenyans, we have to go through a lot of processes before the law becomes the law. We have to debate, agree, disagree, negotiate, until the general will of the people is expressed in a piece of legislation. So when you are given that regulation-making authority, you are not supposed to exercise absolute powers. Mr. Speaker, I want to say it here, that ministers, both at the county level and at the national level, must know that the power to make regulations is not an absolute power. They must know that the power is with the county assembly, is with the National Assembly, is with the Senate. That is where the Constitution has said the power to make law belongs. So when you make these laws, there are two fundamental things that you must do. When you go before the delegated legislation committee, which I belong, for the Senate committee, we expect that in exercise of those powers, you have done, number one, public participation. You cannot bring or propose milk regulation, any crop regulation, for example, MIRA regulations, without public participation. There must be public participation. And you must demonstrate to the committees that you did public participation. Do not run to just go and gazette these regulations that are affecting people, and you haven't, for example, if you're making regulations on how PSVs or public service vehicles should operate, you have not sat with Matatu Owners Association. You have not sat with the conductors. You have not sat with the banks that are sponsoring these people. You have not sat in brief with even police officers, traffic officers, stakeholders. You have not consulted them. You have not done any public participation, including passengers who regularly use those vehicles. So then you sit in your office there and you make a regulation that makes absolutely no sense. Mr. Speaker, if the regulations in SHA, for example, the regulations in all these new laws that have been a subject of much debate in this country, if they had gone through the proper processes, bring the hospital owners, the private owners, the public owners, bring patients, bring professionals, and I mean not just doctors alone, there are nurses there, there are clinical officers there, there are lab technicians there, bring them, there are insurance players. Let people talk and agree on these regulations. You don't sit in your offices and publish regulations without doing public participation. Mr. Speaker, I'm not just talking about at the national level, but even at the county level, Mr. Speaker. The county executive officers in Tana River County, for example, Mr. Speaker, they must, when they are passing regulations that are going to affect people in the market, even after the county assembly has passed the finance bill, the county finance bill, you need to sit down with business people to agree on the charges. How much are we going to charge for mangoes, the fish? Why should Lamu County be charging so much less than Tana River County, and we are just next to each other on the sea? And then you sit in the office, you're only thinking about the money. You have not talked to the fishermen, the beach management units. You have not consulted with even the potential markets. And then you drive all the business to the next county because you are not consulting. You sit in your offices and you make regulations that don't make sense, regulations that actually end up killing business within the county. Mr. Speaker, it has become so expensive to transport produce out of the county into the market, as opposed to neighboring counties in Tana River County, because the ministers, they don't sit down with stakeholders. They don't sit down with the farmers. They don't sit down with the market. They don't sit down with the lorry transporters. And Mr. Speaker, public participation has been ignored, not just at the national level, but even at the county level. Ministers are assuming that because they have these powers, they can do anything to the people because, okay, the law has been passed by the county assembly or it has been passed by the Senate. I'm the one to make the regulations, and then they make ridiculous regulations, Mr. Speaker. And they start playing cat and mouse games with delegated legislation committees of both houses at the National Assembly and at the Senate and even at the county levels. Or, Mr. Speaker, sometimes they try to manipulate, especially at the county level, so that people are then robbed off of the benefit of public participation. So, Mr. Speaker, as we discuss this statutory amendment bill, it is good information to ministers who are listening to me and to CECs who are sitting, maybe listening to me, that you must do public participation before you carry out regulation-making decisions. You must. And secondly, there must be a regulation impact report. This regulation impact assessment report must accompany a report of public participation. This is why the delegated legislation committees scrutinize whether you have actually misused those powers that were given to you, donated to you by the assembly, or you have utilized those powers properly. There must be, and I mean it is very logical. If you say that from today you're going to only allow 20 kgs to be packed as maize bags of only 20 kgs as opposed to the normal 50, you must know that the market is going to be affected by those regulations. You must know that the customers who are used to trading in a certain way, they are used to these packages, they are going to be affected by those new regulations. You must surely know that the people who buy, the people who sell, even those guys who carry at the back these sacks will be affected, and the prices will be affected in the way that the business is carried out. So, ministers and CECs, please make sure that you also get to know what is the impact of these regulations when I'm putting them out there. Because when we pass the law and we donate power to you ministers, to you CECs, we expect that you will use those powers responsibly. You should not abuse those powers. You should not abuse those powers to make regulations that are ridiculous, that defeat business, that make people suffer, the people of Kenya, instead of assisting them to make these laws functional. So, Mr. Speaker, this requirement that if a regulations-making authority does not work or does not bring those regulations within 12 months, and they are not provided for within the main act, that anybody can now come in and bring regulations. Any person who is affected by those regulations, I think it's a brilliant thing. The requirement that a minister, if it has been specified that within 6 months you are supposed to make these regulations and you don't make them, then you are personally liable, Mr. Speaker, to a fine of 500,000 shillings. It's going to wake up these people. Executive authority is not supposed to be utilized at the wishes or at the caprice of the holder of that office. Executive authority is merely given a donated power to make regulations, and it doesn't replace the regulation, the lawmaking process, the legislative process that the Constitution has created. So, Mr. Speaker, in a short statement, we have decided to take this power back so that we control it, and we tell those ministers, those regulation making bodies to make sure that they abide by the requirements of timelines. We don't want to be doing laws here that go and hang outside there and nothing happens to you. There's no consequence. And you're there. I mean, you're there. You're being paid by the people. You're given security. You're given mileage. And you're not just signing things to make the system work. Mr. Speaker, I think this is a brilliant amendment to the Statutory Instruments Act, and I support it, and I beg colleagues to also support it. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Fak. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii kuchangia marekebisho ya mswada wa sheria endelezi, yani Statutory Instruments Act mwaka 2024. Mheshimiwa Spika, sheria hii inapania kuadhibu wale ambao wamepewa jukumu la kutunga sheria hizi endelezi iwapo watakosa kuzitunga sheria hizo kwa muda ule ambao umewekwa na sheria au muda wa miezi 12 baada ya sheria hiyo kupitishwa na bunge na kuwekwa sahihi na rais, hivyo basi kutumika katika nchi yetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa sasa kuna sheria nyingi ambazo zilipitishwa na bunge ambazo mpaka sasa hazijaweza kutumika kikamilifu kwa sababu kwamba sheria endelezi ambazo zilikuwa takana kutungwa hazijaweza kutungwa. Na Mheshimiwa Spika, utungaji wa kanuni hizi endelezi mara nyingi unachukua muda kwa sababu ni jambo ambalo lazima lipitie zile taratibu zote za kutunga sheria ambazo bunge linapitia wakati zinatungwa. Kwa mfano, lazima zipelekwe katika uhusishaji wa umma, yani public participation, wakati zinatengenezwa sheria hizo. Vile vile lazima iangaliwe kwamba hazikiuki katiba na vile vile pia hazikiuki ile sheria kuu ambayo imempa nafasi waziri ama jopo linalotunga sheria hizo kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba wametunga sheria. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, yale mambo ambayo yanatakana kupitiwa kabla ya sheria hizi kupitishwa yote yamewekwa katika sheria, kwa hivyo ni lazima yapitiwe ndio sheria hizi ziweze kutumika. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile sisi kama bunge tuna muda maalum ambao lazima tutumie kuweza kupitisha sheria hiyo, na ikiwa hatukuweza kupitisha kwa muda ule, Mheshimiwa Spika, sheria ile inaweza kuanza kutumika bila ya kupitishwa na bunge. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, swala la kuwapa muda ama la kutoa vigezo vikali ambavyo lazima waziri afanye na iwapo hakufanya ataweza kuadhibiwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni jambo ambalo linatilia nguvu uwezo wa bunge hili kuweza kudhibiti ile fursa ambayo waziri ama jopo limepewa kutunga sheria ambayo lingeweza kutungwa na bunge. Mheshimiwa Spika, jambo ambalo nimeona hapa ni kwamba ile faini ambayo imetolewa ya shilingi 500,000 ni kidogo sana kwa sababu jukumu ambalo waziri ama jopo limepewa ni kubwa, kwa hivyo lazima iambatane na ongezeko la faini hiyo. Kwa mfano Mheshimiwa Spika, lazima faini hiyo sio chini ya shilingi 2,000,000. Kwa sababu tukiangalia yale mambo ambayo yamezungumziwa katika sheria, mengine ni mazito sana. Kwa mfano Mheshimiwa Spika, iliyotakana kupelekwe kanuni bungeni za kuweza kuiendeleza sheria ile, na iwapo kama haikuendelezwa, kwa mfano serikali imeweza kupoteza fedha ambazo zingechukua kutokana na sheria ile. Kwa hivyo kupotea huko kwa nafasi hizo, Mheshimiwa Spika, inafaa pia kuambatane na faini ya juu ambayo waziri ama yule mtu anayehusika ataweza kutozwa iwapo hakuweza kupeleka sheria ile katika bunge. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile kupeana nafasi, kwa sababu mara nyingine sheria zinazoletwa katika bunge, Mheshimiwa Spika, hazijapitia mikono mwa waziri. Sheria zile labda zimetungwa na wabunge na wakatoa fursa ya waziri kutengeneza sheria endelezi ili kuendeleza mswada ule wa sheria. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, mara nyingi huwa hawana labda hamu ya kuweza kupitisha sheria zile, kwa sababu mara nyingi zitawakwaza katika masuala fulani. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nafasi inayotolewa hapa kwa yule ambaye ameweza kutunga sheria ile ama yule ambaye amedhamini sheria ile, Mheshimiwa Spika, kuweza kuleta sheria endelezi, ni fursa nzuri, kwa vile inawapa nafasi wale ambao labda wanaona kwamba interest zao ama mambo yao yataendelezwa na sheria ile, ili yaweze kuendelezwa bila ya kupoteza wakati. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba mpaka sasa swala la kuwa sheria endelezi zinakwisha baada ya miaka 10 halijaweza kuzingatiwa na mashirika mingi. Kwa mfano, wiki iliyokwisha, Mheshimiwa Spika, katika kamati ya sheria endelezi, yani Delegated Legislation Committee, kulikuwa kwa tuwajadili mapendekezo ambayo yameletwa na shirika la National Construction Authority, ambapo walikuwa wanataka kubadilisha sheria ambazo kanuni endelezi ambazo zilikuwa zinatumika na kuleta mpya, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na bado vile vile, japokuwa zilikuwa zimekwisha mwaka 2013, lakini bado Mheshimiwa Spika, walikuwa wanataka kuzirekebisha zile ambazo zilikuwa zimeisha mwaka 2013, 23 baada ya miaka 10. Mheshimiwa Spika, swala jingine pia ni kuwa wakati tulipoingia katika bunge hili, Mheshimiwa Spika, zililetwa karibu kanuni 1743 ambazo zilikuwa zimekwisha muda wake wa kuhudumu wa miaka 10, na tulikataa kuzipitisha hapa kwa sababu, Mheshimiwa Spika, sheria zile ama kanuni zile zilikuwa zinahusu wizara tofauti. Lakini wakati zilipokuwa notisi ilipotolewa, ilitolewa notisi moja tu na mkuu wa sheria kwamba ameweza kuziongezea muda zote hizo, ambao kwa hakika, Mheshimiwa Spika, ilikuwa ni kinyume na sheria, kwa sababu kila sheria ilikuwa iko chini ya wizara fulani. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa ni wizara husika waweze kuleta marekebisho haya kwamba waongezewe muda ndio ziweze kuongezwa sheria zile kwa muda. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiangalia katika kaunti zetu zile sheria za ujenzi wa nyumba, nyingi zao, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni zile ambazo zilikuwa zatumika wakati kulikuwa kuna manispaa na mabaraza ya miji. Hawajaweza kutunga kanuni mpya za kuweza kusimamia mambo ya ujenzi. Na ukiangalia, Mheshimiwa Spika, majumba mengi yameweza kujengwa mapya, ambayo kwa mfano katika miji mikuu, Mheshimiwa Spika, hata tukiangalia hizi affordable housing ama hizi nyumba ambazo zinajengwa sasa na serikali, lazima zipitie ile sheria za nyumba za ujenzi katika kaunti zetu. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ipo haja na nafikiri hili nitalizungumza katika komiti yetu, kuziangalia sheria zote za ujenzi katika kaunti zetu, ili je, zimeweza kuambatana na sheria ambazo ziko, je, zimeweza bado zinahudumu katika ule muhula wa miaka 10 ambayo umewekwa na sheria ama la. Kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaona kwamba sehemu nyingi, kwa mfano katika kaunti ya Mombasa, majumba yanajengwa mapya, lakini tukiangalia huduma za maji ni zile za zamani. Tukiangalia umeme, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni ule ambao ni wa zamani. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia masuala ya maji machafu, hakuna miradi mipya ambayo imetengwa ama imepangwa kufanywa ili kuchukua hizi nyumba mpya ambazo zinajengwa. Kwa hivyo basi tutapata kwamba nyumba nyingi, Mheshimiwa Spika, zinamwaga maji yao machafu baharini, ambako zinadhuru viumbe ambavyo viko kule. Nyumba nyingi zilizojengwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, hazina nafasi nzuri ya kuweza kupata vijana, watoto kucheza na sehemu nyingine za kujiburudisha kama hizo. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, sheria hii itasaidia pakubwa kudhibiti ile nguvu za bunge katika kutengeneza sheria na kanuni za kuhudumu sheria hizo. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Senator Beatrice Akinyi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to support the amendment that we have before us. Honorable Speaker, the Statutory Instrument Amendment Bill 2024. Honorable Speaker, I support this because of certain challenges that we have had with the implementing authorities, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in our committees, sometimes when we discuss with the CSS or the executive for that matter, issues to do with lack of regulations often come up, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, it is through regulations that we have these acts of Parliament become operational. And so, Honorable Speaker, I want to support this from the onset because this amendment spells out timelines within which these regulations must be prepared by the executive, either the county governments or at the national government, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, something else that I want to support is the fact that we don't grow, Honorable Speaker, when things are easy. I remember this being a result of the NADCO report. It did not come easy, Honorable Speaker. I remember at that time there were serious challenges in this country. Honorable Speaker, I am a member of the other side of the coalition that contributed a lot to the NADCO report, that because of the challenge we had then as Azimio, and some of them we continue to have, Honorable Speaker, the two sides of the divide were able to get the courage to sit together, to form teams, one that was led by the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, that led our team, and the other side of the Kenya Kwanza coalition. The two principals were able to come together. They had the courage, Honorable Speaker, to decide that they were going to make a stop to the squabbles that we had then, and they were able to bring different members from their teams to sit together. That resulted into the NADCO report that has given birth to one of the amendments that we are discussing today. And Honorable Speaker, I want to say this was very timely. Dialogue is encouraged, Honorable Speaker, even in our families, that when we have challenges in our everyday lives, we should encourage the sitting together, the sitting down, to make decisions as Honorable Speaker. If they are given a chance, something always comes that everybody is able to celebrate. And so today, we are here discussing a result of that dialogue. It was good that the two teams came together, and we continue to congratulate His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga for taking that courage, Honorable Speaker. In one of the quotes that I like to read by one Ruth Gordon says that courage is like a muscle, Honorable Speaker, that when we strengthen it, it is only strengthened by use. And it is for that reason that we celebrate these two gentlemen that came up with the sitting that brought forward the NADCO report. In the NADCO report, Honorable Speaker, we also celebrate even the two-third gender rule that was discussed, and agreed on. And we are only calling on the two houses. Of course, Honorable Speaker, we have discussed the 2/3 gender rule in the Senate, and a number of us supported it. But one thing I want to say, Honorable Speaker, over the 2/3 gender rule is that political parties must do their part so that finally in this country we can achieve the 2/3 gender rule. Another thing that was discussed in the NADCO report was on the issue of the formation of the panel of the IBC. And of course, Honorable Speaker, we have seen good prospects from that because finally a panel was set, Honorable Speaker, and in the last few days we have seen interviews that have been carried by this panel. We saw the interviews that were conducted by this panel in getting the next chair of the IBC. And we've also seen after the conclusion of the interviews of the chair, we went ahead to see the interviews of the members of the commission. All we are asking for, Honorable Speaker, as Kenyans, is that finally, when we get the results of these interviews, for the chair of the IBC and for the members of the IBC, Honorable Speaker, we'd like to see a membership of a commission that reflects the face of Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. We'd like to see inclusivity. We'd like to see the gender composition of the IBC. We'd like to see even a youth represented at the commission, Honorable Speaker. And all these were products of the NADCO report. Honorable Speaker, we also saw in the NADCO report a concern for the cost of living. Of course, Honorable Speaker, that still is a concern up to date, that we'd like to see a country where there's concern for the cost of living of its members, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I support this amendment that is before us because there are timelines that have been set. And in the timelines, Honorable Speaker, we also see that where a person who without a reasonable cause fails to make this instrument within a required timelines, Honorable Speaker, we also see that there's a fine to it. And the fine that has been mentioned here, Honorable Speaker, is only 500,000 shillings. Honorable Speaker, I want to suggest that this should be increased to at least 2 million shillings or more, Honorable Speaker. And the reason why I say this, Honorable Speaker, is that a number of acts of parliament are lying in shelves without implementation. It means some of these implementers have no goodwill on these acts. And yes, Honorable Speaker, since I joined the Senate, I realized, Honorable Speaker, that the process of even getting an act of parliament from the start to the end is very costly and it is very painful. And so when parliament has gone to prepare an act of parliament and it has gone to completion and even ascended to, there would be no reason, Honorable Speaker, why it should lie in some shelf because an implementer of that act of parliament is not keen on preparing the required regulations that would make it operational. So, Honorable Speaker, once that offense is identified, Honorable Speaker, the fine for that must also be made painful. And Honorable Speaker, when I go to 24.5, number 5, I'm also supporting that this fine, if an offense is made, this fine must never be paid from the public funds that are available. that once somebody commits this offense, whoever has committed this offense must pay from their personal proceeds. And this, Honorable Speaker, will ensure that the executive goes ahead to prepare these regulations in time. Honorable Speaker, I also want to suggest that counties or the ministries must also be assessed by how many regulations that they prepare. Honorable Speaker, this will ensure that even in their performance contract, this comes out very clearly. Because, Honorable Speaker, as I've mentioned before, there would be no need of a ministry or an executive, a county executive committee member having acts that have been prepared by county assemblies would have those acts lying without regulations that are prepared so that the operations of those acts are made easy. Honorable Speaker, I support this because this has been lacking, and I want to say that I support, along with all the NADCO reports, some of them that are still pending, Honorable Speaker, I support this amendment.
Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm one of the members of the Committee of Delegated Legislation, and this is my 13th year in that committee. One of the biggest challenges we have faced as a committee is that there are quite a number of acts without regulations, and it is impossible to implement an act without regulations made by the minister or cabinet secretary in charge of that particular ministry. Mr. Speaker, one of the biggest challenges right now is the digital health regulations, of which this is what has made it very difficult for SHA and SHE to work. And I am happy they have now been placed before our committee, and we're probably going to look through them this week with the new minister, the Honorable Duale, to make sure that there is a way you can be able to implement, you know, the digital part of the operations of the health ministry. That has been a big challenge. And you would imagine if these regulations were never made forever. Mr. Speaker, one of the other challenges which comes with this Statutory Instruments Act, many ministries don't seem to understand them. Many ministries are not aware that after 10 years, regulations expire. The reason is that most regulations have charges which are likely to be increased or reduced with time. And therefore, quite a number of regulations, as the Senator from Mombasa, Senator Faki, has said, of 1,000 regulations, Mr. Speaker, are expired now. And what the government tried to do was to amend the Statutory Instrument Act in reverse, Mr. Speaker, so that once you amend it in reverse, then you are able to say that statutory regulations can stay forever. Mr. Speaker, we fought that, and I'm very happy this particular amendment has been brought, and I'm hoping those ministries, all of them, all they need to do is to seek an extension of 1 year, and they're able to look at the regulations again, and most probably they don't even need to be amended, republish them, and bring them before Parliament. Mr. Speaker, this is a good amendment, but I want to agree with those who are saying the fine should be made tough. I am going to be bringing an amendment to make this fine 2 million shillings, and I believe I will work with Senator Beatrice so that this can be made tough, so that ministers can be aware there is something, and these monies are paid from the personal pocket of the relevant cabinet secretary. I do support, Mr. Speaker, and I thank you for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this. Thank you.
Senator Oroba.
Thank you, Speaker. I rise to support this amendment bill. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to belabor the points that have been said by my colleagues, but I want to point out that we have so many pieces of legislation that have passed. They've been signed into law, but they haven't been implemented. One of them actually happens to be the provision of sanitary towels, Mr. Speaker. when there was an amendment on the Education Act, where the Ministry of Education was actually tasked to provide sanitary towels to school girls. Mr. Speaker, it took at least 3 years before that was able to be, it was implemented. And even when it was implemented for a couple of years, Mr. Speaker, there was no guideline, it was almost as if the person in office will decide whether to enact it or whether to go back and say that they are looking for a transitional committee or whatever. So, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to add my voice on this and say that not only do we need to have the framework on the guidelines and the timelines and who is to do what, but within Senate, Mr. Speaker, I think it is imperative that we also consider that we have a special committee that will be in charge of ensuring that most of the pieces of legislation that we pass in this House are actually implemented, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, as I support this amendment, I also want to say that having sat in the Committee of Delegated Legislation, there are so many of these statutory instruments that we can utilize in terms of ensuring that we institute changes in the places where we have gaps in legislation, Mr. Speaker. The problem also is that we still do not have a follow-through, we still do not have, it's the same, it's what we are trying to cure still also applies in the delegated legislation, Mr. Speaker. So I support this, and I want to maybe convince the proposer of this bill to also consider having or instituting or starting some or proposing a standing order where we can have an implementation committee on the bills that we have passed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Now that the mover is not in the House, pursuant to Standing Order 97(1)(b), it shall be assumed, and indeed it is assumed, that he has forfeited his right of reply, and hence we move to the putting of the question, which I will have to defer owing to the number of senators present now. And therefore, let's proceed to the next order, Clerk.
Order number 12, the County Hall of Fame Bill, Senate Bills number 18 of 2023, second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Kindly allow me to defer the matter till the next sitting.
That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 13, the Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 46 of 2023, second reading.
The Honorable Maruma MP. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 14, the Wildlife Conservation and Management Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 49 of 2023, second reading.
Senator Lenku Oleseki, not present. That order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 15, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2024, second reading.
The Honorable Senator Kathuri Murungi MP, he is not present, so the order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 16, the County Oversight and Accountability Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Ledamo Lekina, not present, and therefore that order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 17, The Sports Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 33 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Edwin Sifuna MP. He is not present, and therefore the order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 18, the County Statistics Bill, Senate Bills number 5 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba MP. Not present, and therefore that order is deferred. Next order.
Order number 20, the County Wards Equitable Development Bill, Senate Bills number 20 of 2024, second reading.
Senator Karungo Thangwa, MP, not present, and therefore the order is deferred. Next order. Okay. That is the last order as per today's order paper. Honorable Senators, kindly rise. Honorable Senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, the 2nd of April, 2025 at 9:30 a.m.